fuck's sake.
Eco flow for now.
Somebody tell Sean we're going live ASAP and to go away.
I just did.
Thank you. I know it takes a few times to tell him.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside SC off. Bring in SC off. Off. It's orange!
R25! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go. Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good morning and welcome to Starbase Tech is getting to launch the fourth flight of a fully stacked Starship launch vehicle. This is NSF. We are a crazy dedicated group of news gatherers and rocket chasers, and we are proud to be live. Well, I was going to say this morning, but right now it's 11:13 local, but depending on where you're watching from around the world, it might be the morning. So we're proud to bring you this feed live this morning from Starbase. I'm Jack Byer. I'll be your host for part of the stream tonight. I'm out here in Starbase setting up cameras and whatnot, so forgive me if I'm a little bit adrenaline-addled. But yeah, thankfully, you're not just going to have to listen to me. We also have our ever-competent cohort of commentators. Of course, starting off with Mr. EJ. EJ, how you doing this morning? It's a big day. Soon, TM. Also joining us on the start of the stream is the one, the only, the Bergenator, Chris Bergen, founder of NSF. Chris, how do we have you?
Good morning. Yes, exciting times. Hopefully we're going to see another first-time launch. Again, I've always been saying I expected several before the actual point where they could commit to launch, but we've been getting to the point now where we can probably expect an actual launch on time. We do know the time has been updated now to 7:20 a.m. local time, so set your alarms accordingly if you're taking a short nap between the start of this commentary and the actual launch itself. But yep, it's going to be exciting times.
Indeed. This is a big day, and hopefully today SpaceX can make it to orbit. Uh, parentheses, technically not actually orbit, but it doesn't matter. If you guys have any questions while we are broadcasting for this, feel free to type into chat at NASA Spaceflight. We'll see your questions pop up in some software that we have running in the background. So there you have it. Oh man, I mean, this is going to be hopefully a very nice launch and a very nice looking one. I don't want to jinx anything, but the conditions tonight and today have been much better than they have recently. So yeah, hopefully we get some nice clear skies, some nice clear air, and we get to see this thing launch in just about 8 hours.
Tell you one thing we could do, Jack, is we probably give viewers a quick roundup, a very short roundup compared to the linked article at the top of chat right now. For if you want the in-depth overview of everything that's happening on this test flight, there's a link at the top of the chat to the news site, and Adrian Bile has basically written 2,500 words on what this mission will be. But for people joining and thinking, what's this? Big silver rocket, what's it all about? It's basically going to try and get through objectives that were completed on the third flight and try and progress a little bit further. So if you remember the third flight, we saw the ship separate, the hot stage, and everything went well, 33 engines all the way uphill, the boost back burn.
Right.
And then we saw the booster coming down way too fast, and it hit the ocean at 1,000 kilometers an hour. This time, they're going to try and do a very soft landing, a pinpoint landing, and if that works, Elon has suggested that Flight 5 will be a catch by the tower itself. Now, that's yet to be seen. The second part and the biggest objective is to try and get ship through re-entry, at least further through re-entry. To get fully through re-entry, which is called entry interface, we like to call it, would be a big ask. So we're just looking for an improvement. We're looking for more control and a way of getting this ship through with the TPS being tested. Now, a lot of people asking about the two-tower purpose. Obviously, they would have replaced it otherwise. And that will provide them data on what it's like without TPS and no spots on the vehicle itself, because it'll all be instrumentation. It'll have the downlink via Starlink, so they'll get all the information they need on that. And that is what was called, we used to call a detailed test objective, and that basically what this could be. We don't know for a fact because no one's actually said anything, but we know that SpaceX would not be now thinking, you know what, guys, we've forgotten something. We've forgotten those two tiles on the ship. Oh, no. They obviously did it on purpose. So I fully assume this is an objective to see what data they get from a vehicle where it has two tiles missing. They know to check those two spots and basically see how it performs during re-entry.
Right. Thank you for that, Chris. Because, when you're down here setting things up and running around and, trying to get some last imagery of the stack before launch, it's hard to sort of keep track of everything. So I wasn't sure if those tiles had been replaced before the final stack or what the status is. So thanks.
You're welcome. By the way, can I just do a quick thanks, Jack? Sorry for interrupting and probably interrupting the flow of this, but we did a countdown to launch show earlier, and we did miss one of our supporters, and I want to make sure that when we can, even though it gets very busy, that everybody who supports us gets a thanks. So I'm going to give a quick thanks to Binary Glue, who did a tip earlier, and with a message, always love watching the streams, keep up the great work, guys. I just think it's very important that we thank people who are supporting what we do, because we have up to 25 cameras ready to do this, film this launch, and that is a record for us, I do believe. So that is a lot of money involved, and thanks to people supporting us, that allows us to do these things. So thank you to everybody who supports us.
Yeah, absolutely. The members, the people who buy the merch and display the prints on their wall, the people that do the super chats, everybody that supports us in whatever way you can, even if that just means showing up to the stream and hitting the like button, we appreciate you so much, because we have the coolest job in the world covering rockets. Not just this one, but this one is the biggest rocket in the world. But rockets anywhere we can get a lens on them, and it's truly an honor and truly humbling, and we thank you all for the support, because holy cow, we couldn't do this without you. All right, well, I suppose we should get into what we expect to see today, just in terms of how things are going to go in general. So who wants to jump on that?
Well, first of all, I got to make sure that everybody can hear me. Jack, Chris, can you guys hear me? Stream, can you hear me okay?
I can
We
hear you
can hear
5x5.
Okay, you guys can the stream? Okay, all right. We got 5x5 on the stream. Sorry about that, guys. Fixed something else on the back end. In case anybody's wondering, I'm doing just fine. But anyway, Jack, what are we going to see? A lot of excitement guaranteed, I think, sir. What about you, Chad? Are you guys ready for this? I'm ready for this. This is great.
Yeah, hopefully no issues with the count. I did note, I said it was hard to pay attention to exactly what is going on while you're running around here down in Starbase. But I did see, was there a tweet from Elon earlier that launch is now targeting 7:20 a.m. local?
20 past. Yep.
Excellent.
And also,
All right,
Jack,
well,
it's probably worth mentioning, Jack, that it's a 2-hour window. So if, unlike the Starliner launch earlier, where it was a instantaneous window because it was going to the ISS, Starship does have that allowance of 2 hours. So even if it doesn't launch on 7:20, say there's a hold, which there are often with Starship countdowns, then they have the ability to push it further into the window to the point of 9 a.m. local time is when the window ends. So there is plenty of opportunities to launch this, even if they have some troubleshooting to do with things like the tank farm and what have you. They do have that 2-hour window.
Right, and just based on the wet dress rehearsals we've seen, fueling should start somewhere around 50 minutes before launch, so sometime around 6:30. But we'll see plenty of activity at the tank farm well before then to indicate that SpaceX is progressing into the flow. So that will be quite exciting once that activity starts to pick up. But until then, we're hanging out and answering your questions and generally just having a good time, because any day the world's largest rocket launches is a good day. MXR Spade with an interesting question, asking/saying, I was thinking that maybe they will test the chopsticks with a virtual booster while the booster does the opposite. I assume they mean while the booster attempts its own soft landing in the water. So maybe they will do both at the same time. I don't know. What do you think? EJ, do you think that they will do sort of a virtual catch with the chopsticks while they do the virtual landing with the booster?
I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't, but also at the same time, you might want to like wait until you actually go to catch the thing. I mean, non-integrated, like non-contiguous testing like that. I mean, you could. I don't see why you wouldn't. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because you gotta think like they gotta do some kind of testing. Are they just gonna go for the full house right there on 5? I mean, that's what Elon said, that they're gonna just do a catch attempt. There has to be some type of testing done to validate the movement, this type of movement on the chopstick. So I don't think that's the most far-fetched idea, right? Like,
right.
I don't think.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
the most
I
far-fetched
would.
idea,
I sort of
but-
expect it.
Yeah,
I don't know that they will do it. I'm not going to say for sure, but yeah, I sort of expect it. It's kind of a no-brainer,
wouldn't be
right? Like I agree
surprised.
with basically what you're saying, EJ.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know, Chad. You guys tell me. My gut's telling me that they probably won't, but you never know. I mean, the big man, Chris. You were saying that we have like 25 cameras out there, so believe me, guys, if they do, one of them is going to catch something. So we'll definitely get it.
I think the interesting thing here is that they are basically modifying the chopsticks between these flights. So what's happening here is they've modified one of the chopsticks arms to move really fast now, which is probably in preparation for a potential catch on Flight 5, but have not yet modified the other side. So if they did any kind of like mirror experiment, then it would be a case of having to modify the second chopstick arm as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I mean, like, I don't. Yeah, Chris, I'm not sure. Like, I don't see why they wouldn't do it, but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to like turn it over. Sorry, guys, my sleep schedule's all screwed up. So bear with me here. I'm just trying to run through in my mind. The processor isn't working as it's 1988, hardware here, so it's going to take a second. Especially with not as much sleep. We've had other rocket launches that I've been keeping track of. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Starliner did the thing today, huh?
It did the thing. It did do the thing. Yeah. Yep. And
I'll tell you what we'll do, AJ. We'll go through some questions here because there were quite a few good questions.
Yeah,
One of them is from Joanne, who asks, more data from the heat shield is good. If they survive all the way through, good for them. Now, I would bring up a few things here. One, Elon's almost strange point he made, which was in relevance to the fact that if they lose one tile, it's like disastrous for them. And I was like, hang on a minute, that doesn't sound right. I'm sure he worded it badly. It's probably about a critical point on the TPS that they want to lose some tiles, which makes more sense. And I'll bring up EJ the shuttle example. The shuttle example being that you have had tiles missing from the vehicle, but obviously it survived through. Now, you lose a critical tile like an RCC panel, then obviously that is going to end up being a disaster like Columbia was. So it is about where you lose the tiles, and I think that's why the 2 tiles missing from aft, which is probably less heating, is where they are testing this DTO.
So, Chris, you think those tiles are intentionally off?
Yes, I do.
Really? Well, I mean, okay, so you got to remember, so we cast our mind back to the shuttle. It wasn't necessarily the tiles coming off. It was the reinforced carbon on the wing leading edge, right? On the left side wing, right?
Yes.
That's where we had a failure point. So, Chris, I know you know this. I'm saying this for the rest of the chat. So it's important to understand that those reinforced carbon wings were designed to have the plasma knife flow over them, as Sir Peter Beck would say. The plasma knife would go over those. That's because at different hypersonic speeds, you're going to have plasma flowing at different points over the wing, which is why you have a stripe of RCC on the shuttle's front leading edges, right? And it lost that, unfortunately, on Columbia, it lost that critical component, right? Now, with the tiles, I don't know. I mean, the way Starship is supposed to re-enter, it's supposed to basically belly flop through re-entry too. So the long axis of Starship is going to be perpendicular to your velocity vector, meaning the bottom of that thing is going to be hitting the most amount of the re-entry heat. And if you look at Starship from the front, obviously it's cylindric, right? So that has you're dealing with hypersonics that are more like early Vostok capsule or something, if cast our mind back to the early parts of the space program, right? So it's more of a circular shape. A cylindric shape is going to be going through entry, so you won't really have those hypersonic boundaries going over any critical edges. But it's not going to be like the shuttle. Starship's wings are too stubby. They're little stubby wings, right? Comparatively to the shuttle, those big honking delta wings on the shuttle. So I don't know, man. Those tiles, if they're intentionally off, that area is going to get heated pretty hard. That basically what I'm trying to tell you guys is the belly is what's going to, the belly of Starship is the place that it's going to get the hottest. And it's very interesting that if those tiles are off, they're going to do some, I guess we'll call it some destructive testing here to see if the back end of this can take the heating. Now, we talk about the shuttle's tiles. The shuttle and Starship are using different methods of tile adhesion. So they glued the tiles to the space shuttle. The space shuttle has aluminium. That was for you, Chris. You'll never hear me say that on any other occasion.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I got you, man. I got you. So it's an aluminum hull, and the tiles are glued to the aluminum. I mean, there's obviously it's a little more complicated than that. But Starship has glue in some spots, but it's using mechanical adhesion. So the tiles are bolted, or they're kind of pressed on, they clip on. So, I mean, also Starship's made out of stainless steel. They're using SpaceX's proprietary stainless steel alloy. I think it's X or derivative of that type of stainless alloy. So yeah, I mean, Starship might be able to handle a couple tiles coming off because it's stainless steel. So with the shuttle, right, you're losing any of the thermal protection system, you're aluminum. aluminium, right? You're exposing that to entry heating, to plasma. That's aluminum doesn't do heat very well. It doesn't do that very well. But stainless, you can absorb a little bit more heat. So maybe with these tiles being out, like it might not be that big of a deal with Starship, right? Especially, method of adhesion, what you're bolting it to. You're bolting it stainless as opposed to the shuttle gluing to aluminum, right? It might be different. So I mean, it might be able to make it through with missing a couple of tiles. It's not like with the shuttle where, their shuttle had case circumstances where they did make it through with, some tiles missing. But that was only because on STS-27, that was only because there was a steel reinforcement plate that just happened to be where the tiles that came off were, and that steel was able to take the heat. There was a gap in the armor, so to speak, right? So the shuttle could, sorry, can't speak. Too early. The shuttle could go through reentry. There were case circumstances where it made it through reentry with some tiles missing, and that was with an aluminum hull. So maybe Starship will make it through without it. We don't know. I mean, remember, the objective is to get past peak heating here. I mean, per Elon on X, right? It's to get past peak heating. So I mean, the flip and burn is there. It's part of the descent, but who knows if they're going to make it that far, especially with those tiles missing. Sorry, that was a long one.
It was a long one, yeah, because I was going to interrupt halfway through and just note that it's also quite interesting how they got the views all the way down. It was made a big point, the fact that it's a much larger vehicle and the shuttles there was. When we saw the space shuttle re-entry, we never saw an external camera of it. Through the plasma, we saw on board with the camcorder videos. We didn't see out external. This was the first time we'd seen it. That's why everyone got really excited, and rightly so. So that is also in play. It's a different kind of automotive line, as they used to call it. But it's going to be fascinating to see what we get this time round, because I'm very excited about a controlled re-entry with those external views, with a Starlink downlink, showing the plasma and seeing how far it goes with that video feed and how far the vehicle survives. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch that. I do believe, actually, we've got a cool video to show you next. Maybe if Jay wants to press play on button on the VHS player, then we will get to see that video. We've seen they are actually preparing that area of the launch site where Pad B used to be for the second launch tower. It's been quite fascinating to see the build-up of the sections that are built at Roberts Road at SpaceX, and then now starting to transport them across. A lot of them are already there, but they actually got a barge full in Florida at the turn base and at KSC right now with the carriage system, 2 more tower sections, and the chopstick arms for Tower 2. So before long, we're going to start seeing that second tower rising out of the ground. Elon has said they'll then modify the first tower. Doesn't mean making it taller. A lot of people are thinking about catch towers and taller towers. No, it's going to be the same. It's going to be modified, that's all. But the second tower will then be joined by the first tower again, and we'll have 2 towers at Starbase, along with the tower at 39A, along with a potential tower at 37B, if they take 37B. There's lots to come yet. We're going to start seeing this rocket launching with the cadence that's been promised, which is many, many, many times a year, to the point now maybe every week and then in days. We'll make Falcon 9 Starlink launches look small in comparison, I can guarantee you that. I just want to quickly thank some people, by the way, AJ, if that's all right. Coco Cats, gifted memberships. That's one thing you'll hear a lot of today, and that is a cool thing that YouTube recently implemented, where people can actually gift memberships, and that allows people who may be in this stream, maybe long-time viewers of this stream, especially because they're allocated it on that kind of basis, a gifted membership for a month. And what a month to be gifted, because you never know. We won't just get this flight, we might get close to flight 5 if things go very, very well. I'm being optimistic there, but you never know. And that month will cover you, so that's really cool. A massive super chat from Brock Burrs, who's said, shout out to every mod and all the team in the field, both Florida and Texas. Go Starliner, go Starship, go NSF. Wow, that's amazing, by the way. It's $200. Brock, that's crazy. I very rarely see super chats that large, and even though even people who don't even super chat, just happen to watch our streams all the time, are absolutely fantastic and help us progress. That is just a huge bonus to get everything progressing on far what we do with cameras and how the things with tricks. There's so many things I don't understand about the cameras we have at Starbase. It's ridiculous. I keep seeing behind the scenes and people working on these control panels and solar and antennas and specialized cameras and control systems. It really was nothing I could even expect to understand. So it really is a lot of work involved and a lot of equipment. And thanks to people like you, we're allowed to go out there and spend the money on those things, which help you get extra views as we progress with this channel. So thank you. Captain Crunch became a Padbrett member. Zephoid Beetlebox, I rings a name. Red Team member. Fire Alarm became a Red Team member. Liz McQuaid gifted 10 Red Team memberships. That's amazing. Todd Johnson, thanks for the coverage. Go IFT4. And Eric says, on topic, Starliner status. Helium leak still okay? Okay, should we quickly digress into the funness of Starliner? Because that is an interesting situation. I think the latest we got Philippe Sloss to write up the latest communications between Mission Control and the Starliner crew. I know we're talking about Starship, but we'll quickly cover this because it was launched then. It's a big crew launch. Butch and Stunny have now begun.
It's fine. It's got Star in the name. It's good.
Butch and Stunny have now begun their sleep portion, the timeline just after Mission Control handoff for the overnight team. While the crew rest, Mission Control will be working on a problem with the helium leaks. They were detected in the top helium leak 1, the port helium 1 manifolds. 2 manifolds. One they knew about on the ground, the other one didn't know about. These are separate from the port helium 2 manifold leaks seen before launch as well. Before the crew went to bed, the ground had them close the 2 helium manifold valves and reconfigure the propulsion system to maintain attitude control while the teams work the problem. So this is where they're going to find out tomorrow where they stand on the status, because they do need that. So that is going to be a very interesting situation. I do believe we have Mr. Scott Manley joining us. What the heck? I've just seen in the background. Scott, are you with us?
Hello. I hope I'm with you.
It is you.
Well, I just want to make sure, this thing might not be working, and maybe it was built by Boeing.
You know what, Scott? I was just reading off the latest drama surrounding our favourite Starliner, basically the situation, and then I got the ping saying Scott's joined us. Well, Scott,
I've been listening. And the thing is, like, they've got a small leak, but it's not just that they need it to get to the space station; they need it to be good through their entire time on the space station, and for return.
Yeah, this is what I mean, Scott. You're probably the best person to describe this. Why do they need helium? We're talking about helium pressurization, things like
Right, it's a tank. Use it as a tank pressurant because it is inert and it is very light. And the problem with helium is that it wants to sneak through every gap. It's, as we say in the business, a sneaky bugger. It will go where it shouldn't, and so helium leaks abound. And it's very likely just that during the launch, probably shifted some channels through some gasket, and now there's a small leak. And the question is, how big that is? I don't know. But of course, Starship doesn't use inert pressure anymore, right? It's all supposed to be, autogenous and stuff, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God willing, I guess. Right? We
Yeah.
hope it works like that.
Yeah, that's the intent. But yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that it got off the ground, and we've got humans flying in space. And yeah, I don't know what this is in the service module as well. So this is the stuff that is not reused. This is the stuff that's disposed after every flight, and they land and they replace that part, because the service module is what contains all the propulsion for on-orbit operations. It contains extra batteries, extra supplies, and there's an umbilical that goes between the service module and the capsule, which is, of course, the thing that returns to Earth. And it would just be very nice. I'm disappointed that it never launched on its original schedule, because then it would be coming back home at night. And as it is now, it's not going to do that. Because there was actually a chance that I would have been able to see it entering, but now the schedule has changed. That's not going to happen.
You win some, you lose some, right?
Yeah, and it was like one of these things that I've just got the lights on my plane now, so I can fly at night, and so I'd be like, oh, great, able to fly up to altitude and maybe see further across the horizon. No, not happening anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they're cleared. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
No, keep going.
I was going to say they're cleared for white sands, right? But there are contingent landing sites, Scott, right?
Well, right. They're cleared for Utah as well, the Utah test range. I thought that was actually where they were planning.
Yeah, that's right. They're going for Dugway. That's right.
Right. So they've got those, and I think, is Edwards possibly one? Probably not. I mean, they've got the lake bed, but I would imagine that it's a fine contingency site if the weather's no good anywhere else.
There are other landing sites. I think one of them is in Arizona, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, it's just anywhere on that 51.6 degree inclination, right? Like, I mean, there is cross range from the capsule, but not as much as some other vehicles that we really
appreciate. And the weather's got to be good. I mean, the thing is, actually, Starliner can handle better weather conditions than Dragon, because Dragon needs stable sea conditions. Yep. So Starliner has actually been designed with some things that should do better than Dragon if it works. If it works, right? Let's stress that part.
That working part needs to be a thing.
It's also interesting.
We need that part.
Yeah, like Starliner has modern, like, precision descent and targeting capabilities that can put itself down in quite a small area, like the Dragon. Whereas Soyuz, for example, it comes down and it can be with like 100 miles off course, and that's totally expected. Like, when it comes down, as well as having problems with like ballistic entries, it opens its parachute up at 30,000 feet or something and falls for a really long time. So, I don't know if you know, there's this story about how in the 1980s, the Soviet Soyuz capsules, they were radioed up landing times so that if there was a disaster on orbit, they could descend. And these landing times were like in Australia and the USA, because they needed big flat areas.
Yeah, and isn't there an agreement, or wasn't there an agreement at the time between like the U.S. and the Soviet Union that, hey, if some of our spaceflight hardware lands in your territory, you need to just give it back to us? An agreement there.
It was more that the astronauts had to be given, proper treatment. That was the sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't know about the space hardware. It's like, yes, we gave it back to you. We happened to disassemble it in the process, but we gave it back.
Yeah, we gave it back. It was in one piece. It was in one piece when it landed. It was one piece when you got it. It's fine.
You heard the story about the CIA disassembling a Luna spacecraft in Mexico. Yeah, they arranged for it to be the last one to leave, and they diverted it to this facility where they took it apart, put it back together again. And the main thing they were interested in was looking at all the seals on the hardware to figure out what factories the parts were coming from. But they also could figure out the mass of the spacecraft. And since they had got the capabilities of observing the telemetry, they could now figure out how powerful the rocket was, because they knew how heavy the payload was.
Yep, there you go. Some reasonable extrapolation right there. That's
right.
Smart,
we do this all the time.
Right?
We do this all the time with Starship. And that's why there's all this discussion about how much will the mass of the hot staging ring, what will that do? What will that change? Will that give them the margin that they need to get down safely?
Yeah, actually, we were talking in here a second ago, Scott, about tiles, and I mean, Starship blatantly has 2 tiles missing near the aft end on the belly side of things, and how that's going to affect it. Elon has said that they're oh yeah, we're gonna
They
mess
don't need
with this.
vacuum engines for landing.
Yeah, it's fine.
I noticed that it's
That's
like
fine.
inside the rear section where the engines
Right.
are. It's not like further forward where there, say, might be some propellant.
Yeah, that's
Right?
interesting place to do that. I wonder why they're just cool with that area as opposed to like the payload bay or the fuel tanks or something.
Yeah.
I mean that aft end's going to get pretty hot.
Right, but it is far enough away from the edge that it shouldn't be getting too much in the way of edge conditions. So, like, it's on the curved surface. It's more or less straight on. Yeah, I don't know. Are they going to... I don't really know what we're going to see from that. But honestly, we probably won't see it because there'll be no camera there. There might be a camera on the inside of in the engine bay that maybe is recording something. We certainly aren't going to see the outside.
Yeah, SpaceX is, known for their optics, right? They're very, very straightforward with this stuff. I mean, on IFT3, we saw shots inside of the payload bay. We saw when they opened the payload bay door, we saw it depressurized. I thought that was the coolest part.
Right. Especially
pod
the
bay
light
doors.
coming in and creating
Right?
that shimmering pattern.
So
I remember
cool.
seeing that. It's like, is that liquid? No, that's the gas.
right.
That was amazing.
So maybe they got more cameras teed up. Maybe they got something up their sleeve here. Either way, I'm looking forward. This is going to be great.
Yeah, like cameras are super cheap, super easy to understand engineering tools. You can stick them, you can find things you didn't expect. But the problem is they generate tons of data, and you need to somehow get that data back. And sure, Starlink is going to be their way of solving that. But how long they'll be able to use that during the descent is a good question. I wonder, like, are there going to be Starlink satellites that are well positioned to look down the entry corridor as it's flying over?
I mean, there's 6,000 of them up there. There's got to be one that has some.
Got to be one of them, right?
It's got to be one or the other, right? Or another, or another, or another.
Or like how many per degree? That's like what, 20 satellites per degree across the Earth, and that means what, 10 degrees apart. So we're talking, I guess like like a few degrees around. Okay, I could believe that.
I mean, the shuttle, they were able to get communications through during reentry with the shuttle because if their reentry corridor had a TDRS site,
right.
Retrograde relative to shuttle reentering, they could get a good signal because the shuttle antennas are on the back. They're actually on the very top of the flight deck, like where the 2 windows are at the top of the shuttle. They had their short band antennas in there, and they could get a signal through TDRS through reentry. So,
and they didn't realize that until much later.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah,
they flew a bunch of missions that are like, wait, we're still getting signal. We didn't expect that.
Oh, this is great.
Or somebody suspected that, but they hadn't, nobody believed it. Just like they didn't suspect that, losing or what a piece of foam could do, right?
Oh,
let's not go there.
We were talking about that too. Like, we were talking about tiles missing. I made it a point to say that, the shuttle's wing leading edges were RCC, they reinforced carbon because they have to deal with that plasma knife coming through reentry. Starship has those little stubby wings. It doesn't so much have to, deal with the same kind of conditions, but
it doesn't, because the shuttle wings are going edge on into the flow, and Starship wings are coming flat on. So you're stagnating. So basically, it pushes the stagnation point further out, and therefore you're getting less heating. I think the areas I'm worried about are the little shoulders near the hinges, right? The hinges around those. That's the bit that's going to get the most heating. And you're probably going to get some weird transient effects or like weird, focusing effects going on there with the flow. But honestly, that's like some hardcore CFD stuff that's beyond me.
Right. I mean, isn't a sphere, like a spherical shape, the best, like technically like the most efficient for like an entry vehicle. Like the Russians had Vostok, right, and that was just a sphere coming right through.
Well, it was the easiest to solve for mathematically, right?
Right.
Physicists love spherical cows because we can do the math on it. Unfortunately, cows generally aren't spherical.
Yeah.
We use them all the same because it's better than having no approximation at all. And so, yeah, I mean, the shape of Starship can be approximated as a cylinder, right? Which is like
Yep.
a circle extruded in one direction. So actually, the math on that is mostly pretty simple. Although I say it's simple, I presume somebody's done it, and I presume that it's not that complicated.
Right? Yeah, because something I was trying to tell people a little bit earlier is that Starship is going to basically enter belly first. The pointy part is going to be 90 degrees offset from the velocity vector. So this thing is truly going to belly flop through reentry. So, if you're looking at reentry that way, it's just a cylinder getting plasma from the side. So it's that's why I brought up the sphere.
Right, with a 9-meter radius. And so the radius of curvature is what defines how far away your plasma stagnation point forms. That's like, or where the shock wave forms, sorry. So that's where the air is coming in and it's hypersonic because it hasn't seen the spacecraft then, and it suddenly meets this point where it slows down to subsonic speeds relative to the body of the spacecraft. And that moment where it transitions, that's a shock wave that forms because it's going, it's changing velocity very, very rapidly. And that's where almost all the heating is. And so that gets super hot. It glows, white hot. But because this happens some distance away from the body, the superheated part is just sort of shining radiation on rather than having the heat flow directly onto the body. Does that make sense? And so the sharper you make your thing, the smaller the radius of curvature, the closer that point gets to the surface. And if you look at
there, right, the plasma just stays. It'll stick there unless you like shoot it away with your engines or blade it away with a heat shield, right? Like it's just gonna stay there.
Right. So the ablation is more about the surface interface where you've got convective heating coming down and you form this. So convection is where you've actually get physically hot material, and radiation is where it's just the photons coming in. Everyone following this?
Yeah, you guys. I'm following. Everybody following?
EJ Scott, I tell you, I am just sat back listening. I'm enjoying this more. We've got questions and stuff. I'm thinking I'm not going to interrupt him. I'm just going to talk.
Oh, okay.
This is what I watch a live stream for.
So anyway, the radiation part is like 20% of the heat flow, and the rest is just like physically hot gas impacting the surface. As you go faster and faster, it becomes more about the radiation and less about the convection, because like the stagnation, the shockwave point gets hotter and hotter and hotter really rapidly. And that's why, for example, if you look at the Apollo spacecraft, one of the reasons why they wanted the back of the Apollo spacecraft to be reflective is because it would actually reflect the radiation coming in from around it. So that was a good thing. Similarly, on the shuttle, the backside of it is white because it's mostly light shining in from the hot plasma tail rather than gas flowing into the back of the shuttle. So it was white, whereas the bottom was black because you wanted it to cool down. Anyway,
and it looked cool too. Just saying,
it looked really cool. Yeah, I know that's real aesthetic. Black and white in patches like a cow, like a spherical cow.
Yeah, dude, love spherical.
The Great Space Cow. The Great Space Orca. That's what it is.
Now, here, I'm gonna steer it right back into what you guys see on the screen here. Now, Starship's backside is reflective too. You think we're gonna see some of that phenomenon here as well?
I think that if once we start seeing this come down, they'll probably have some interesting shading and coloring just from the high temperature environment. The backside, it makes total sense to have it be shiny stainless steel because that'll reflect a lot of the radiation. Like if they polish it up a whole lot, that could help even more. Could you imagine like a lunar like a translunar starship that's coming back, say after doing Dear Moon, which isn't happening? It would be so much better to have it be super polished up and reflect more of the heat, right? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah. During reentry, I can't imagine what type of thermals you're going to endure when you're on orbit. You need one heck of a radiation system to So, I mean, we are reflecting, right? But you might, I don't know, man. Those tiles are gonna absorb a lot of heat too. But yeah, that would. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not gonna look
The
cool.
tiles
right?
are designed to absorb heat.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
not
there
a
you go.
problem.
Yep.
I mean, tiles basically what they do is they slow the rate at which heat comes through to the inside surface.
Mhm.
And ideally, your inside surface doesn't get any hotter than its melting point and conducts heat away, right?
Yeah.
And for the
yeah,
fuel
I-
tanks, there's a lot of mass in there for it to dump mass into, and the stainless steel can get pretty hot before it starts to fall apart.
Yeah,
On the space shuttle,
That's what I was
Yeah.
wondering, right? Yeah, because we have stainless versus aluminum. Go ahead, keep going. You're going.
well,
the
so
same,
the
you're
space
going
shuttle
exactly
had
where I
an
was going.
aluminium shell,
Yep.
and the tiles were on that. So
Yep.
when it had a failure on STS-27, I think, it
Yep.
burned straight through the aluminium really quickly, and
Yeah.
thankfully there was a steel plate in the back there.
Exactly. Yes. I was just talking about this before you came in. Yes. All right. We're on the same page. I'm super happy about that.
Awesome. Yes.
By the way, quick update. We're actually got police at the Richardson roadblock. And I do believe we've got a video showing what that actually means. This roadblock here is the police, but we've got a video showing where the roadblocks are ahead of a Starship flight. So if you want to play the video, Jay?
Okay.
The timeline of events ahead of a Starship launch begins several hours prior to liftoff. County Police in coordination with SpaceX security. At the same time, Boca Chica Beach is also closed for public protection ahead of the launch. During this time, Starbase, Boca Chica Village, and essentially every location within the blast danger area is evacuated. This includes not just residents, but also non-essential SpaceX employees living and working within the area. Highway 4 will also be closed off at 3 different locations. The furthest away from the launch site is called the Soft Closure Point, and it's located several miles up the highway near Brownsville. From this point, only residents and SpaceX personnel are allowed down this road, and everyone else will be turned away. Another roadblock is set up right outside of the blast danger area on the intersection between Highway 4 and Richardson Avenue. This location is the hard roadblock point for the launch, and only essential SpaceX personnel and law enforcement are allowed through it. Closer to the launch site, another roadblock is set up in the early hours of the road closure window to control access to the launch site. This roadblock, located past the intersection between Lyndon B. Johnson Boulevard and Highway 4, is the usual roadblock that's set up for static fires and other smaller-scale tests at the launch site. As launch time approaches, this roadblock will be vacated as it won't be needed anymore, and law enforcement can move up to the safer roadblock location at Richardson. During this time, SpaceX teams will complete closeout work at the pad, performing final checks on the hardware and systems ahead of full clearance of the launch site area. At some point, the chopstick arms will open up and reveal the fully stacked rocket ahead of the propellant load sequence. For this to happen, though, the ground tank farm will have to spool up. The tank farm systems will begin chill down about 4 to 5 hours prior to launch, when the now famous Pope stack vent will become active. The liquid oxygen and liquid methane subcoolers will also start to fill with liquid nitrogen ahead of their use during propellant load operations. For this flight, a new set of liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen horizontal tanks have been installed, while the old big vertical tanks have been turned offline. This means we'll also see tank farm activity from these tanks as liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen flows from the ground tanks through all of the lines and other launch pad systems. As the conditioning process continues, we will see lots of venting from the subcoolers and the tank farm in general. This is expected and has been seen on previous flights before, so don't worry and enjoy the show. During the conditioning process, SpaceX begins the load of carbon dioxide on the booster for the vehicle's own fire suppression system. This will be evidenced by vents coming off from the tower-facing chines on the Super Heavy booster. Once the tank farm is chilled down and conditioned, there will be another conditioning and chill down process, but this time it'll be of the propellant lines that go to the launch mount and up the launch tower. This will be evidenced by the OLM and tower vents, which will be made visible during this time. The OLM vent will first start weak and will progressively become more active as propellant load approaches. This final state is what we call the waterfall mode. As for the tower vent, it'll appear and disappear twice before propellant load starts, but for that, all systems and hardware need to be ready to go.
Very cool. The glorious tones of Alicia there. Always welcome on our videos. I'm going to bring Scott back in. You know what? I'm just going to let Scott and EJ talk because it's far more fascinating than me reading out. We do have a lot of super chats. We do have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
If you've done a super chat, do not feel like we're ignoring you. We have a very long stream. It's a long way to launch it. It's another 7 hours and 20 minutes. We will make sure they're all read out. Don't you worry. But while we've got Scott on, I don't want to waste the time we've got with him by just running through super chats. I think we should just let him talk. And in fact, there's a question for Scott here from Karen Coupland who asks, are you ready for launch? I'm sure you are. And have you been to Boca to see a flight?
Wow. Well, yeah, I'm ready for launch. But here's the thing. Every time they launch, it's something where I am pre-booked onto something. So I actually was supposed to be in a bit earlier, and I couldn't because it's my son's birthday. So we're like, I gotta cut the cake. Okay, we're done with the cake. We're coming through to get on NASA space flight. So I couldn't get out. First launch, I was at ThinkerCon. Second launch, it was like my wife's best friend's 60th birthday that I was supposed to be at. Then the other one was Pi Day, and I'd have been committed to some youth education things. It's like, come on! One of these days they'll have an event that I can actually get to. So no, I have not got, but I would love to get down there. But I'm a very busy person because I do have a day job. It turns out I have a bunch of really important meetings tomorrow.
Wait, you have a life? Wait, what does that mean?
I
don't
well,
understand. Chris, you understand?
Well, yeah. A life. That's one interesting way of putting it. I do more things than I do things other than making videos on YouTube. I'll say that. I know. I have a family.
What?
I'm teaching my daughter how to DJ properly after all these years. Yeah, vinyl, turntables, beat matching, the whole thing. Oh yeah,
old school. So yeah, real vibe.
Yeah.
All right, now we're talking. That's great.
Going to be at Open Sauce in a couple of weeks, which is San Francisco, makers event with other space people are going to be there, Joe Barnard and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, Joey B.
Yes,
love that guy.
That's right.
Cool. Well, hey, tell your son some random other space influencer on the internet says happy birthday.
I will. He'll be very happy because he's easily made happy. No. He'll be very happy because he's just hopped up on energy drinks because he's studying for his final few tests, and he brought out a giant chemistry book. He's like, Dad, this is what I'm going to be doing next year. It's like, great, let's talk about chemistry. Do you want to talk about chemistry?
That's the dude. I'll talk about chemistry. Let's talk about, we talk about pre-burners, right? When you take gaseous methyl oxide, gaseous oxygen, and combine them and throw them into an injector, into a combustion chamber, staging.
Torch igniter. Oh yeah, right. Yep.
Yeah, we could do that. That'd be great.
Yeah, you go fuel rich. You go fuel rich, and you go aux rich, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
It is interesting. We all talk about full flow stage combustion, but that's not something you can do with every fuel type, right? You can't do that with Kerolox because if you go fuel rich, then you end up polymerizing the kerosene and you end up just producing black gunk and you gum up your engine. So chemistry matters when with fuels.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyway, yeah, we're talking about making this tower bigger, right? Or retooling it.
Dude, I'm in. Let's make it bigger. Rocket.
I'm just like,
it's not pointy enough.
I just remember it was supposed to be like 459 feet with a 10-foot tall lightning rod or something. And I remember saying that, if you made it a 20-foot tall lightning rod, no, it was 400. It would be 489 with that, and that would have been 420 plus 69. I'm just like wondering if that ever happened.
Those are the meme numbers.
I know it's mad.
It's not a coincidence, man.
You know what, EJ, you've mentioned also, Scott mentioned one of my magic words, which is I have a big fascination with ground support equipment.
Yeah, me too.
I like to reference the fact that when hot stage to the stack on Starship, that rate where the ship quick disconnect could be, and they basically put it on a booster seat. It probably cost them
they
a couple
$100
seat, when they went from Block 1 to 1B modifications for mobile launch platform.
Oh, they just built a new one.
We'll get another Yeah, we're going to start building another one, which is
Yeah,
what they're
because
doing
we
right
don't
now.
want to hold up the blisteringly fast launch cadence of SLS by having to build a new tower, right, between launch 3 and 4. No, we will have to have them switch over and get going fast.
And that is
With
literally
all
just
the
because of the.
swiftness of I was
It's
going to say
literally
with all
because
the
the
swiftness of
European.
Constellation Drift. Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally because the the US, the new upper stage, it slightly makes it taller, slightly, and they basically said, well, we're not going to raise where the umbilicals are on the tower. We'll build a new tower to cater for the umbilicals where they need to go. And the question being what to do with Mobile Launcher 1 after that. But with Starbase, I think they're learning that they don't have to do too many things to cater for the changes, because obviously the vehicle itself will go through V2 and V3 alterations, configurations where it's going to be advanced for its future roles. But I do like this question because it's on topic and it's something both of you, I really want to hear the answer from both of you two. So I'm going to ask this question. It's from Nemo, asks, what's the plan for Starship and Hubble? Now it's only got one gyro. So we know we've got problems with Hubble again with the gyros. The last time it was serviced was STS-125. Elon did actually reply to me in a tweet once about retrieving Hubble and bringing it down from a museum. It could be done. But as far as servicing missions, Jared has proposed that with the potential of taking a Dragon out there and reboosting it and doing a servicing mission, probably not to the level of Space Shuttle with the 5 back-to-back EVAs and all the equipment the Mule brought up with it. But there's a potential that they could do some kind of servicing with it, but NASA's kind of hands off, saying we don't want non-NASA astronauts touching it. What's your thoughts on that, Scott?
Well, first of all, I don't think. First of all, it actually has 2 working gyros. It's just they're going into single gyro operation. So they'll actually have a backup gyro still. So they had 3, and then now they're like, okay, we've only got 2, single gyro. It means that they can't they can't slew to targets as quickly as they used to because they need to spend more time settling it. But once they're there, they can still hold it with roughly the same precision. They can't track fast-moving objects like asteroids. But anyway, I first of all, what I say is, regardless of what the plans are for servicing, I think the first thing they should do is boost it to a higher orbit. And that will give you time one way or another. I do not believe that we should let that fall to the atmosphere. Even if we're just boosting it up into a higher orbit, served for inspiration to future generations. At this point, I wonder whether it might just be cheaper to, build a new one. We all know that down in Sunnyvale there is a Hubble factory, and I'm using finger quotes because that's where they build these big, spy satellites. I think it's Sunnyvale, and if you're building these things already, how hard could it be to build more? Right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I always like to tell people that Hubble is the spy satellite that's pointed backwards.
It is pretty close.
That, but yeah.
Hubble was oversubscribed, and James Webb is now here. It's oversubscribed too. So it's not like you can stop Hubble doing. It's not like James Webb took any load off of Hubble by any means. It just had a whole new set of demands. Yep. I really think that Hubble needs to be preserved. I'm not sure we'll ever service it. I think the amount of time and effort and money that it would take to service Hubble with what we have now would require so many pieces of bespoke hardware that we would be better actually just building new telescopes and using the new launch capabilities, the new heavy lift launch capabilities that are coming down the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, I'm kind of with you on that. I like the idea of boosting it as well. I mean, even if you're not going to service the thing again, that would be fine. There is a grapple point that was installed after the last Hubble servicing mission. They installed a grapple point on it, so you don't need an RMS to a remote manipulator system. You don't need an arm like the shuttle to go and grab at that thing. You could. Scott, I think that's a very poignant thought. Like up until that point, I was like, let's go service it and try to get more life out of the thing. But, with that rocket that you all see on your screen, it might be a better idea to
capable,
right? You have a Starship in the future, mount a Hubble in the payload bay and leave it up there for a little while. Oh, we need to do an upgrade. Instead of sending a servicing mission up, you just bring it back down and then you fix it and then you send it back up again. Starship has down mass capability. That'd be an awesome mission. I'm here
Yeah, I think it would be cool to just leave it in space and make it part of the part of the the I don't know, the first space museum, right?
I'm here for this. Yeah, I want to be a part of this plan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And anyway,
update.
there's the
Oh, sorry,
Nancy Grace
Carol
Roman
Scott.
Space Telescope, which is is being built.
Mhm.
I don't know what its current spending is on that though.
Isn't the Roman leftover DoD satellite?
It is.
That
It's leftover.
Yeah, right. We're like, we don't need this. Here, you can have it. It's like, what? All right, cool.
So yeah, if you figured out the prototype for that or whatever, figure out how to produce those more rapidly on the production line and just launch lots of them, that would be a much better solution.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That I want a constellation of James Webbs. Let's bring on Luvor. Let's go. We need more of these.
Yeah, Luvor. Yeah, I mean that's cool. I can see that.
Yeah, just launch more. We want more. We're greedy here.
But yeah, I mean, I think my sort of opinion is that the Hubble servicing missions were absolutely amazing, but probably for the amount of money and effort that was spent, you could have launched another telescope each time.
I mean, it really only makes sense. Hubble only makes sense if you have a shuttle to service it. Any other way.
What's coming down the pipeline as well is China's about to launch their space telescope, and it is going to periodically dock with their space station for servicing.
Huh. That sounds a lot like Space Station Freedom dual keel.
Yeah.
We should do that. That was a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Go ahead. You don't want to have the telescope mounted on the space station because people moving around just cause too much vibrations. But if you have it free flying and have it occasionally come back home so you can change out the instruments, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. I mean, so for the people that don't know, the dual keel space station was a part of the Space Station Freedom program. That Space Station Freedom eventually became the ISS. But there was a time where they were talking about with Space Station Freedom having a gigantic, basically a dry dock for spy satellites built into the design on the truss segment. And you could basically send out a space tug, go and grab like Hubble, bring it back to the space station, work on it, with the relative security and low risk of being next to the space station, right? And then let it go and send it back on its way. Space Station Freedom was originally supposed to be in a 27-degree inclined orbit because
that's where the shuttle could get to.
Bingo, exactly, and that's where Hubble is. Coincidentally, it's in. I think it's actually a 2-degree inclined orbit.
Yeah, so, it's basically the lowest inclination orbit you can get, the most efficient orbit for the space shuttle out of Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just right out of the Cape, and them being in the same inclination means that there's low delta V to be able to go and fish it out. You could just go grab it and bring it back for a relatively low delta V cost. Nowadays, trying to get to the ISS to Hubble, no, we don't. Yeah,
there's too much. But also, if you compare it against the actual spy satellites, those are in higher inclination orbits because they actually want to get views closer to the poles at times.
Right? Yeah, those are sun synchronous, right? 97 degrees inclined.
Are they?
It could be. I don't know.
They're in sun sync. I don't know actually where they are. I just know that they're not like 27 degrees. Well, here's the thing: when they start out in one inclination, they can't go very far, right?
Right. Yep. Well, we don't know. We don't know that.
That could be another spy satellite there. Yeah, they have some maneuvering capability.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, and then of course the International Space Station moved to its 52-degree orbit so that Russia could come on board and be the great partners that they are. Which is why I find it. I get great amusement from the fact that are supposed to be collaborating with China, and China went and launched their space station into an orbit that Russia can't reach. Yeah, it's like, we're collaborating, but you have to fly on our spaceships.
Yeah, they're like, hey, can you check the inclination of your station so we can get to it? And China was like, no.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, we're not doing that. And they're like, oh, yeah. Okay.
They could have reached it. They had the capability, right? It was just like, they were like, nope. It might even have made it a better space station if they pushed it up at that thing. Of course, by doing that, it meant that the connection, because
Yeah.
space ISS and Tiangong are in different orbits now.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I was just trying to figure out the other day, like, if you knew how to fly the Soyuz, could you figure out how to fly a Shenzhou with no knowledge of Mandarin?
I mean,
I'm gonna have to ask some Soyuz experts.
Yeah, no, but they should have relatively similar degrees of freedom control. I mean, every capsule, even the shuttle had the 6 degrees of freedom controls. You have a joystick that's designed for yaw, pitch, and roll. Oh,
I think
Jack?
I'm back.
Hello,
Jack.
Can you
Jack's
hear me?
back.
Jack.
Do you have the combination?
Okay, I have so many questions for you two. I've been listening to your conversation, and it's so I really, before I even forget, have had very little sleep, and I might forget these questions. So stand by, put a pin in it. Chris, Mr. Bergen, the Bergenator, I think we're going to say goodbye to you for a little bit. Thank you for covering for me while I ran around like a chicken with my head cut off. I don't know if we still have him. Oh, thank you, Chris. And thank you for founding NSF. Chat, I want to see thank you, Chris.
Yes.
Wall to wall.
The B-Man.
Okay, first off, here we go. You guys were talking about imaging Starship reentry from Starlink earlier, right?
What an awesome idea.
Wait. Hear me out. I'm going to blow your mind. Get ready for this. You know how bullet time in the Matrix was accomplished? A ring of cameras. You know what a bunch of Starlinks in orbit are? A ring of cameras. So I propose, I'm so hyped about this, I don't know if you can tell. So I propose orbital bullet time of Starship reentry. If anybody can make that happen, it's SpaceX. I don't know. Chat out there is probably like, what the heck is he talking about? But
even better, use NERF, right? Orbital, use all the
oh my God, make a giant Gaussian splat. Yes! Scott, I love you.
Yeah, I'm here for this. This is great.
Would be cool.
It's a good idea. We should do this.
Amazing.
Yeah, all right, so resolution sucks, but whatever.
So, all right, so we're out here innovating. Good. Thank you. I just wanted to get that off my chest before I completely forgot that harebrained idea. But
it's not a harebrained idea. It needs to happen.
No, yeah, they should do that.
I mean, hey, if anybody has a line for Elon's number or whatever, Tim, if you're out there listening right now, orbital bullet time. You should
try that from the ground. You guys at NASA Spaceflight, you guys have the audience. The next time there's like a big jellyfish launch, get everyone with their iPhones to get their coordinates logged, shoot it at the same time, synchronize all the shots from all the people, and construct like a massive, 3D computational tomography version of the giant jellyfish.
I'm so here for this. I am 100% here for this.
Thousands of space nerds shooting on cameras, recording the video, and pass it off to somebody that can do the math. With computers, obviously.
I'm here for it. I'm here for the nerddom that's going on in here. Yeah. It's pretty good.
I'm just glad I didn't roll in here and say something stupid and have both of you guys go, what?
It would have to be really stupid for us to dismiss it instantly.
We were talking about
it's a good idea
earlier.
All right. So. I can do stupid. Hear me out. Starship, but with feathers instead of tiles. No, really don't.
I did Starship with dragon wings once.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a Kerbal Space Program challenge. Big, leathery giant dragon wings popped out and it flew.
Amazing.
Was there an arm coming out of the back of its neck or something?
Did it do any burninating that you're aware of?
Yes. Burninating the entry.
And consummate V's. Consummate V's.
Amazing.
Yes! Oh God, there's people in the audience that are too young to understand this.
Yeah, if you have no idea what we're talking about, you need to watch every single Strong Bad email that exists.
It's a lot.
Hey, I'm gifting them the joy of laughter.
Starrunner.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
From the old internet.
Let me thank some folks real quick. I'm just gonna do a couple of these here. Goldwolf, thank you. They say love you guys. Keep up the good work. And we have Oh, I'm being told there is an update on the roadblock. It has now set up. Where's that location? That's right there by the Astropub. Yeah, so that's the standard, like, final roadblock before the launch site, and that is a good sign. Now, here's the thing. You may have noticed I started the stream, and then I was not on the stream, and then now I am back on the stream.
Welcome back.
Somebody may have been driving during the time that they were not on the stream, and that person may have been driving around the time that we expect to see roadblocks. There are no roadblocks on Highway 4 right around midnight, so which is interesting. I think previously they've set them up a little bit earlier, but there is now that one going up there, right there at LBJ Avenue and Highway 4. So hooray!
Yay!
Everything progressing along. Okay, here's a question.
Proceeding as according to the plans.
Yeah, I feel like you need to be. People can't see you, but I can see you. Like you need to be doing the.
Can you see what's on my mug?
I cannot. This is the worst audio. Skywalker Ranch, nice.
Yeah.
Better than Skinwalker Ranch, I'll tell you that.
That's right. I may have been talking to some people there that know about recording sound.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway.
Let's see. We have a question here from Callius asking, shouldn't they be focusing on demonstrating controlled re-entry first and test failure scenarios? I mean, that's basically what the point of this flight is, right? Is to survive peak heating and get through re-entry. I wonder if they're asking about the missing tiles that we were talking about earlier. I have a fun theory about that. This is another one of my bugbears that I filed away while I was maybe not driving and listening to you guys talk earlier. Those missing tiles are on the aft skirt, you guys were saying. What's right on the other side of the aft skirt in many places?
Vacuum Raptors.
Correct. What do you not need for landing?
Vacuum Raptors.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott. I'm going to need to add Vacuum Raptors to my soundboard now, just so that I can forever relive that exact intonation. That's priceless. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's. I think, they're clearly not going to clear all the requirements to be able to do a full mission on like the next flight, because they're not doing an on-orbit relight. If everything's as I remember, right?
They're not doing an on-orbit relight on this flight.
Right.
Correct.
So that means they need to do at least one more suborbital flight after this one.
Yeah, correct. That would be my read as well. I know a lot of people are expecting the first catch attempt to be Flight 5, and it very well could be. It of course depends on how Flight 4 goes and how the virtual catch of the booster goes. But because there's no on-orbit relight this time around, I do sort of wonder. I know that's the ship and not the booster, but yeah, I sort of wonder if maybe we won't see catch on 5, even if everything goes perfectly today.
Dude, I still think they will. I think they'll go for a catch on 5. It just the spacing between Flight 4 and Flight 5 might be a little bit longer than what we've seen in the past. But I've always said that they could do Artemis. You could do the entire Artemis profile with expendable starships. On orbit refueling, you could do the whole shebang bang with an expendable starship. You really can't get that done with expendable super heavies. That would be very, very difficult.
That's a drone flying through, right? So I say that, they're not going to try and go for a catch until they have 2 towers.
Yeah.
Or they're pretty sure that the second tower is ready to go. That's what I would say.
Well, how do you? We can get in the weeds here real quick because I'm a nerd. How do you define ready to go?
As in, the time between this flight and the expected next flight is less than, is comparable to the time it'll take to finish out the tower and get it ready for another flight.
But
even then, if you looked, as soon as they were finished, they were already starting to stack new hardware. So they need the tower right away.
Yeah,
you don't want to risk not having the ability to stack and test.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the time between now and the second tower becoming operational for its first use, because it's not just the tower, right? Remember, it's also the orbital launch mount, which takes for frickin' ever to build. And unless they're going to somehow barge the second one over from Florida, the one that they have there outside Hangar M, I mean, I don't see I don't see Pad 2 at Starbase being ready for at least a year.
Well,
and maybe,
okay,
maybe I'm being a crunchy.
The tower might be ready to catch without an orbital launch.
Oh no! Are you a catch-only tower
Scott.
person, Scott? Are you?
You're
not
outnumbered
both
here, Jack.
catch-only. No,
that just occurred to me as you were talking about it. I haven't thought it through. You know.
See, here's the thing. If I ever take a stand against something like, say, Ship 26 being bad, then of course Ship 26 is going to go on to do all the coolest stuff. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe the second tower will be a catch-only tower. I really, 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 really don't think so, even if just at first. But we'll see.
How many boosters have they got in the pipeline? Right. At
they
what
just
point
started.
They start launching them every 6 weeks. How long till they start running out of boosters? You know.
I mean, that's a very good point. They need to be able to reuse Super Heavy. That's a key part of this program. I just think I don't know. I think we're going to see a catch attempt a lot sooner than many people, including myself, frankly, expect to see it. And if that's only when they have the one pad in Starbase, so be it. I mean, it'll be good data. Sure, why not? Because they'll find out exactly.
I think that I would look to see the results of this flight.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you're going to decide. You know, was the biggest failure on the re-entry side of things? If that is, then don't risk another catch until you're further down in solving your problems with the re-entry of the Starship.
Yeah,
because you
that makes
need
sense.
You need to be able to fly and push that those boundaries out.
So while we're talking about it, didn't the FAA license that dropped say something about that license being applicable for other, like, additional Starship launches should they fly the same exact profile? I think I remember seeing that in there in one of the statements they released.
Yeah, I don't know. I know there was something that was highlighted that certain types of failures would not require like an investigation before the next launch. And there were things like, well, we expect this to break up on entry, therefore, if we fly it again, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the 3 failures. I think one was a failure during reentry with high heating. One was a failure during landing. And I forget what the third one is. Forgive me. But that pertains to the mishap investigation that we've seen happen on all of the launches thus far. There was an additional little nugget of news. I'm sorry, I'm like frantically searching for it here, about the launch license itself, separate from the mishap investigation stuff, just saying, you know, hey, Flight 5 could come pretty darn quick after Flight 4, provided, one, they don't, they fulfill the requirements to not need the mishap investigation to be completed, and 2, that they don't need a launch license modification again. You know, they'll already have it. So interesting. It'll be interesting to see both when Flight 5 happens and when the first catch happens, and maybe they'll be one and the same.
Yeah.
Philip wants to know what everyone's favorite space shuttle is. Scott, what's your favorite shuttle?
Discovery, I guess.
You guess? That doesn't sound very...
I'm trying to think what... I actually really like Enterprise.
Hey, all right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because it was just like such a pioneer, that whole like flying thing. But yeah, obviously it wasn't an actual space shuttle.
Hey, Enterprise has a real orbital number. It's OV101.
It's
a real
the one
shuttle.
that had the big probe sticking out. It was the only one that flew with the lance.
Yep.
It was jousting like a knight of the sky.
I do love me a good air data boom. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep. Anyway, I mean, my favorite shuttle is Challenger. The reason why is because in the early parts of the shuttle program, NASA and Rockwell took what they learned from the orbital flight tests, OFT 1, 2, 3, and 4, so STS 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they applied those lessons when they made Challenger. Challenger to Columbia is like Falcon 9 1.0 to Falcon 9 1.1. It is a very different orbiter. Challenger, for instance, has way less tiles. It is way lighter, way less mass than Columbia. Columbia was heavy. It was overbuilt because how are you going to test fly this without people on board? So they overbuilt it on purpose. So all subsequent shuttle designs, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour, are all based off of Challenger's design rather than Enterprise and Columbia. So Challenger's my guy. That's my favorite.
Good deal. Yeah, I mean, solid answer. I'm gonna go with Atlantis, just because it did a whole bunch of spooky NRO and/or DoD stuff. So plus, I mean, Atlantis. Come on, it's a cool name.
Yeah.
Good deal. We have a question here from Curveless Sphere. Interesting choice of name based on
Depends
prior
on
topics.
the curvature of space-time. A sufficiently curved space-time will make a sphere look like it has no curvature.
Nice. They're asking, how does everyone think this mission will play out? I think the booster will be a full success, and the ship will fail on the flip and burn. EJ, I'm gonna let you go first while I take a massive bite out of this pizza here.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. What kind of pizza you got?
Really?
No.
You have to ask.
This is a flame trench. This is a flame trench.
You
Sorry,
really have to ask. It's bacon pizza.
Oh my God, you're the best. All right. So is
With
it going to make
pineapple, right?
No, Scott, no, don't do this. Anyway, all right. So I think
focus.
Are we gonna get past peak heating? Well, yeah. I mean, IFT3 made it past peak heating. It's just the business end was flying first, so that's probably not going to get you very good entry, descent, and landing data if the engines are flying first. You know that they don't really want to do that. That
hey,
didn't
really
end
quick.
well.
While you're answering, we see some cars leaving the pad right now.
Oh yeah, let's go. All right.
Ooh.
So, I mean, if they can get the attitude control problems figured out, and there's no way that SpaceX isn't like, okay, it has to steer correctly in space. We really need to get that done. There's no way they haven't really made sure that those thrusters are going to work correctly, right? But then again, you never know with these iterative test flights. But I'd say if the attitude control systems are working correctly and Starliner goes through, Starliner, nice. If Starship, there's too many stars, dude. If Starship goes through reentry correctly, yeah, I think it'll make it past peak heating. Now, flip and burn, I don't know, man. If it makes it through in one piece, I don't see why it wouldn't be possible. I mean, SpaceX has pretty much proven that, you know, they can feed propellant sideways, because that was the real hard part about doing those flip and burns in the beginning, because Starship is coming down with its belly facing towards the ground. It's coming down parallel to the horizon, right? So, you know, unlike Falcon 9, which is coming down in vertically, it's very easy to settle the propellants at the bottom of the tank and then just turn the engines on because you're decelerating from aerodynamics. Starship is a little bit of a different breed here because you're coming in sideways. You're 90 degrees off from like where a vertical landing would come down. SpaceX has proven that works. Now here's the real question. You know, they did it with SN15 with Raptor 1s, right? Arguably a different motor, right? Can it be done with these Raptor 2s? Can these, you know, I think that's possible. I think that, you know, if it's going to work with Raptor 1s, it should work with Raptor 2s, but, you know, probably doesn't really usually work well in space flight. It probably works. But, I mean, then again, flip side of that is that it's iterative design. So SpaceX, you know, probably work. Didn't. All right, let's try something else. So
I love how we keep talking about flip side of the flip and burn.
Yeah, see, I've been hanging around with Sawyer too much.
Or not enough, one of the two.
I don't know what it is, yeah, right? So I think if it makes it through peak heating and it gets below the Kármán line, I think the flip and burn will be just fine. I think it'll do it. It depends on how scorched this thing is going to get coming through entry, descent, and then hope, you know, all the way up to landing.
Scott, what do you think?
I mean, look, I'm pretty much on the same thing. I think that the booster is one of these things that should have been solved, and I think that unfortunately they've had issues with the relights, and they had issues possibly with the ring detaching. So with those things addressed, well, now we're actually going to see possibly, where the rubber hits the road or the booster hits the ocean. So I think that like they got to make sure the engines don't fail, because that's what we keep on having. Now Starship, we know it can get to orbit. They will almost certainly have figured out their attitude control problems, because that's what they're going to focus on. What other problems will they encounter? I don't know. I think they might get through re-entry, and then this will be the time when they actually have to demonstrate they can do this whole, the flaps, the controls. They have to demonstrate that at hypersonic speeds, because they've only demonstrated it at subsonic speeds and subsonic loads, and that's potentially a completely different environment. So that's where things could start going wrong. They might learn something new. They might encounter problems with their heat shield. They might have, gas intrusion where they didn't expect it. So this is where I think that they might have a problem. And I will not be surprised if Starship doesn't make it all the way down to the ocean. I think it'll be a miracle if it gets to the point where it actually tries to light its engines, because there's a lot of other things that can go wrong before there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The transition
it's tricky.
from reaction control to aerodynamic control that was tough for the shuttle. The shuttle never just didn't flip off its RCS and then just start using the elevons, right? It was a slow and gradual change over time as you're going through, hypersonic into supersonic down to subsonic. That's a good point, man. That's a balancing act for sure.
Well, Starship should actually have. See, the thing is, the space shuttle didn't really have much aerodynamic control authority during that hypersonic regime, because it was like a 40-degree pitch up. So you can't really do much with the elevons in that orientation. Mm-hmm. So that it needed the RCS, but it would transition by dropping the nose. Whereas Starship, those control surfaces, they work all the way through the speed range, but they've never really used it at hypersonic speeds. So they could encounter problems they've not predicted. And that's what I'm saying. I think that's where I think we will see potentially problems. That's where I would look for problems.
Yep.
It's really interesting to see so much talk about hypersonics these days. And, you think of a missile, or you think of a small little thing. Hey, what's hypersonic? Starship.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, anything falling down fast through the atmosphere can be hypersonic. The question is it doing anything useful, or is it just falling like a rock? Because falling like a rock has been a solved hypersonic problem for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah, just look at shuttle.
Yep.
Luca is asking, since it's so humid here, giant vapor cone ? I hope so. We've seen a little bit of vapor on previous launches, but maybe, you never know. Sometimes you see a Falcon 9 launch and you get that donut. Sometimes you get a little vapor cone, sometimes you get no vapor, sometimes you get the full rainbow donut. You know what I'm talking about?
Right, yeah, it depends on the moisture distribution within the atmosphere, right? So, and I, being a pilot, should know all this stuff, but actually I'm drawing a blank on what it does to rockets.
Actually,
let me bring out 4-Flight and take a look at the winds aloft.
Excellent.
So, Jack, something to consider is that, the atmospheric conditions at sea level might not be the atmospheric conditions where the vehicle's going transonic, right?
Good point.
That all changes. One of the things that if people wonder what the range is doing, range is green, like what we saw with Starliner, they're not just monitoring the temperature and the wind down here. Right. And obviously, if you're up in the vacuum, there's not really much meteorological data up there other than, radiation, which they do monitor as well. That's actually something that not a lot of people know, but it's all about what's in between there, too. Right. So the wind at 30,000 feet might be different than the wind at sea level. Right. And not only is it going to most likely be different, how much of a difference are we talking here? So, temperature and pressure obviously varies. As you go up, it's going to go down. But temperature and humidity will absolutely vary throughout the window. That's why we see that vapor cones sometimes on Falcon and sometimes we don't. It all depends on the humidity and temperature, where the vehicle is breaking the sound, or not breaking the sound barrier. That's not exactly right. Where it goes through the transonic regime of flight. It's not breaking the sound barrier. Vapor cones aren't sound barriers.
So yeah, right now it looks like at 33,000 feet, the wind is going to be at 16 knots, and if you go up 6,000 feet to 39,000, it goes up to 62 knots. So there's a bit
That's
of wind shear
a lot of vertical
that
wind
happens
shear.
in that range, and then it drops back down
man.
as you get up to like 54,000.
Yeah,
Now,
that kills the rocket. That's not good for it.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of there's a lot to unpack here because Scott said wind shear, and okay. First off, wind shear bad for rockets, as we know.
It's not that hard,
it arguably killed or contributed to killing the 2 shuttles that had their mishaps. So it's not something to trifle with. But it's not super bad. You're saying, Scott. It's just there is shear. There's typically always some amount of shear, but it's not super
particularly bad. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, and maybe this will make sense, maybe it won't. What would either of you most want Tim to ask Elon in their next thing they do? Because one thing I really want to know is like, hey, what's the wind shear limit? Hey, what is the winds aloft limit? Any kind of constraints like that we sometimes get to know with other launch systems. I would really like some nitty-gritty details about hey, what's the shear limit? I don't know. If either of you has a pet question that you would ask, what would it be?
Scott, go for it. I'm thinking.
Oh, God. I'm really asking things.
I can thank some people.
I would actually be asking about redundancy
deliberate
in their control systems. Like
that's
where I'm sort of interested. Their electronic stack, because we hear so little about the avionics stack in these things. Because we see all the structural stuff we can infer, but we really don't know anything about the control algorithms and what other sensors are on there.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's a really good one.
It's the only thing we can.
Jude, go ahead.
I was just saying it's the thing we'd actually have to ask somebody about.
Right. EJ, any bugbears you got? You can say pass.
I need some time to think about this. Now I'm rifling through, like, is that a good enough thing to ask? If I was gonna shoot my shot, right? Like it has to be a good question. I don't want to be like, well, why is the tower tall, or something? Like.
Yeah. No, trust me, I get it. I just saw my favorite director doing a screening of his new film, and there was a Q&A after, and you want to go up and be like, hey, thanks for your work. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. That kind of thing. But you don't want to get annoying, right? It's always so hard. But yeah, you try and think of a good question. Like, what's a good question I can ask so that they think I'm not just annoying? It's hard.
I suppose.
While you think, I just want to note, we are seeing the tank farm spooling up a little bit. Cars are continuing to leave the pad. So significantly more activity going on at the tank farm. You can see some vapor there. And that's exactly what we want to see at this point. In the evening, with about 6.5 hours to go to the opening of the window. Hooray.
Yeah. So start of the window, we're also expecting some clouds. Just so we know. I know they will burn out very, very quickly, and then the winds will come up. We have about a 17% chance of rain during the window. So I'm just looking at all this stuff. I'm not sure about humidity. It does show unstable air, so you could get like thunderstorms potentially forming if given the heat and the humidity. So, but
Scott,
maybe
are you looking at the Brownsville METAR, or
I'm more than the METAR. I'm looking at the whole weather prediction for that area. But Brownsville is the one, because Brownsville is big enough. They launch the balloons, so they actually get the winds aloft, right? Because most of the other stuff you can predict from the ground.
It's always fun when you're driving down Highway 4 towards Starbase. There is, of course, Brownsville Airport. And right next to Brownsville Airport, there's a giant radome on a stick, which is the weather radar. And right next to that is some sort of, it looks like an astronomical, like a telescope dome. That's a very small one, but it's right there. And I have seen people come out of a shed next to that, basically, and release those weather balloons. Like, when you drive by at the exact right time. It's pretty nifty. And even, it's been a long time. I would say it's been, 2 years, maybe 3 years. But I've seen them release those balloons at Starbase, like basically from the production site. I think that was back when they were doing one of their wind studies, or the wind investigation that they had to do as part of the environmental impact statement. So more cars leaving the pad.
Yep.
Jenks, you on the coke?
Yep. Oh,
excellent. This is perfect. This is exactly what we want to see. Clear out the pad. Get the launch site ready to begin propellant loading on this thing. It'll be some time before they start loading propellant, but there's a lot to do to get the tank farm ready to load that propellant, right? Like, you have to condition all of the lines so you don't do any thermal shock to any of your very critical propellant lines that will be flowing thousands of tons of volatile propellants into this vehicle.
Frankly, the rate that SpaceX moves propellants into Starship is astonishing. Even the ground service equipment, the pumps. Shout out to the GSE team at Starbase.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? Unsung heroes. Unsung heroes. I mean, it's stupid. It's what? It's like 5,000 tons of propellant in 50 minutes. 1,000 tons of propellant in 10 minutes. Like, I'm sorry. I have no other word for it than that's stupid. Like, I don't understand how that's possible.
Well,
yet simultaneously, I understand why they destroy so many pumps at the orbital tank farm. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I'm going to just say, think about it. They're pumping the fuel and the propellant out of there at an even faster rate.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I mean,
what is a rocket but really fancy plumbing?
Really fancy plumbing with a bit more fire.
I mean, I was actually, wondering like what the flow rate is. Like, if we can extrapolate that Starship is going to, like Super Heavy will drain most of its fuel after what, like a 4 minute ascent, right? Like how much, what's the flow rate of these pumps that tank the vehicle? I'm sure, I mean, that's pretty basic math.
Right. It's like 15, 20 tons per second of propellant between fuel and oxidizer in that first stage.
That's wild. That's wild that they can do it with cryogenic propellants, everyone. Like, that is crazy.
I mean, to be clear, once they're pumping it, when they're pumping it into the engines, it doesn't matter that they're aggressively pushing it through and heating it up. But actually, when you're loading the densified propellant in the first place, you don't want it to heat up as well. So you don't want to have too much turbulence, right? Because that will cause you'll be putting energy into your stuff, and you don't want that. But on the way out, it's less of an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when you want that to happen, right? Like,
yeah.
So yeah,
I was just watching
the big fiery bits to happen later.
Yes.
To get hyped up today for launch, I was watching the most recent Cosmic Perspective EDA video. With all the insane,
so good,
utterly bonkers slow-mo. Absolutely check that out if you haven't already. But I was watching that, and I was just struck by how the vapor from the condensation on the booster itself gets like venturied into the engine compartment and then belched out in between the Raptors. It's the amount of just sheer human ingenuity and brilliance in just the aft section of this vehicle. It's insane.
Yeah, that's not the first time we've seen stuff like that. If you go back and, I mean, there's famous footage out somewhere around on the internet of Apollo, like a Saturn V liftoff on the pad, and you have camera E8, which is basically looking at the business end of Saturn V during ignition, or at least the top of the business end. You could see during the initial overpressure, when the engines turn on, it blows carbon soot out, like up the flame trench, and then it gets up
sucked down.
Gets sucked right back down. It creates a huge vacuum. It's crazy.
Right. Yep.
Well, and then,
I've got a couple slow-mo shots from static fires that do the same thing, and it's mesmerizing. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, and then we're talking about the rocket sucking the gas down past it, and then once it's traveling up, and reaching supersonic speeds, you get the reverse effect where you're now punching through the atmosphere so hard that you're creating a vacuum, and it sucks the gas from the engines forward up the side of the rocket.
Right. Sometimes with a shuttle launch, like you'd see some like burning basically on the underside of the external tank.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, external tank's fine. That's fine. They anticipated that because
it's just like
I
a
don't
little
know,
bit
physics.
of entrained flow there.
Right. Super cool.
Hey,
all right. Well, we've got some more really.
Exist. Yep.
I mean, hey, rockets are pretty cool. I don't know. No, I might be going out on a limb here. I'm sorry, I gotta say it. Rockets are pretty cool. We have some more questions, and don't forget, if you have questions at NASA Spaceflight, we'll be happy to answer them as much as we can. Here is one from Michael. We were just talking about fueling. Michael is asking, how much do you think they could reduce fueling time, and is there a limit to it? I mean, given that it's already insanely fast, I'm not sure, but I don't know. Never say never. I mean, this goes into what Vaquero is saying in chat. Put a turbo pump on the tank farm.
I mean, we
have some Raptor powered. That's it,
Dude,
right?
Yeah,
you just have the pre-burner section.
Yeah, exactly. Just the pump part. I was gonna say that's why I was thinking about like calculating flow rates. Like, you know, could you do that? I mean, I don't know, man. Like that. Like what they have is already moving propellant pretty quickly. That's like on par with like some small rocket engines. Like flow rates going in like a tiny little engine. Like they're on par with those things with their GSE, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like that's all right.
It is electrically powered, right? They're not burning fuel to load it, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, mass isn't a concern. You just get a big honking electric motor. I mean, dude, what if there's a Tesla motor in there, with like a fluid impeller attached to it?
I'm just wondering how much electrical power does it take, and can they actually move that amount through? Because I know for a while they were limited by getting electricity in there and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, for Flight 1, if you remember, for Flight 1, they had, oh man, I think it was like 4 or 6, maybe more, semi-truck sized generators right there parked at the loading area for the orbital tank farm. I'm trying to remember like what the megawatt equivalent of that was. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it was a significant amount of power just parked right there at the orbital tank farm in the form of giant semi-truck sized generators. Now, thankfully, they've run some high voltage lines down the side of Highway 4 over the last, however many months. So the infrastructure, the grid can support getting the launch site the power it needs. But yeah, to your point, Scott, it's got to take a lot of power.
Yeah. I mean, we all talk about, Occupy Mars and stuff, but guess what? Just getting the infrastructure in Boca Chica is hard.
Yep. Yeah, right. Exactly. We got a lot of mission parameters need to be figured out before we go over there. But hey, right. If anybody has the chops to do it, it's the company whose rocket you see on the screen, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Man.
Okay, Khalid is asking, what are you worried about the most before and in flight? I guess I'll go first. I'll let you guys come up, think of your answers. What I'm worried most about before flight, I'm going to be honest, and I can't say the word because it's not good mojo.
Don't do
but
it. Don't
yeah,
do it.
I don't want unfortunate things to happen. Like I want this thing to launch. I'll say that. So I'm worried about it not launching. That's the way I can avoid saying the word. And in flight, I'm most worried about a pad fallback because I'm about change from the pad. We did the calculation. It's about 16 seconds until the blast hit. I'm pretty sure it would be fine, but I'd rather not find out. And more importantly, I don't want any delays to this program. I want to get Boots back on the moon as soon as possible. So yeah, those are the two things I'm most worried about. Because one would delay the progress here even just a little bit, and two, there's another launch, the Virgin Galactic, on the 8th, and I really don't want to miss that. So hopefully this goes today, and I can scoot my car down to New Mexico and capture that. But we see some more cars, speaking of, leaving the pad. Always good to see at this point in the morning, passing through that final roadblock there, which will be moving back to the other roadblock location at Richardson, as we were seeing in that video earlier, once they get into fueling or get close to fueling. So they're progressing, and about 6.5 hours to go. All right, EJ, you're in the hot seat.
Oh.
What are you most worried about before and in flight?
I mean, you're always okay. Super Heavy is 33 engines down at the business end. You know, they've proven that you can do it over the last 2 flights. Still, sequencing 33 engines, 33 full flow stage combustion cycle engines in 3 seconds and making sure that everything releases down there still gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm not saying that SpaceX can't do it. I'm just saying it gives me the heebie-jeebies. That is an extremely complicated event, and they've proven that it can get it done, but also, yeah, if I had to pick one, like that's the part where I'm like, okay. I mean, that is a lot of stuff happening very, very quickly. I mean, we've been talking about ground launch sequencers lately because of other rockets. Can you imagine what the sequencers look like for this thing? You know, 20 hold down points, 33 engines getting ignited, and you have to stagger them because if you try to light them all at the same time, bad stuff happens. We could get into the details. Let's just say bad stuff happens. Yeah. So, like, if I had to pick one, that would probably be it. Now, in flight, yeah, it would be what we were talking about earlier. Scott, you brought up good points with control. I would be wondering about that. Like, I think it'll do it, but yeah, once again, if I had to pick a point, that would probably be it. You know, what is this going to look like going Mach 5 at, 350,000 feet up? Like, what is it? What is it? Like, that's a very untested, a very unknown with SpaceX. Like, they have the flip and burn. We know they can do that. And they've gotten through peak heating, albeit backwards with the last flight, but that's the unknown. That would be the part where I'd be like, okay, probably figure that one out.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, and I'll say for me, like getting started, I do just worry that they'll not have all the engines ready to go, and they'll get some problems, and we'll scrub. That's all I worry about because I have to get up for like a 5 a.m. thing. I'm gonna have to get like 5 hours of sleep and then get up and then go to work.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get some sleep. I've been up for a ridiculous number of hours already.
Yeah,
fair.
Me too.
Fair.
I've been up since Starliner coverage started. That was
not recent. Gosh, yeah. But and then, yeah, again in flight, I'm gonna be worried about lighting those engines again, and it is the same thing. It's just all these engines lighting and firing. That I think that is still immensely complicated. I don't know what's the word momentously. That's not a word.
Sure it is. It is now.
It is now. The English language, we can just make up words, right?
Yep. For shizzle.
We can steal them from other things. Yeah, I think we are just looking at the same problems that we've had before. And like I think I'm more worried long term because they've taken this booster and it's clear that they've heavily reinforced it in various places. They've done a bunch of stuff to it. They've got this detachable ring now just because they want to get a win on the booster front. We all said landing the booster, that's a solved problem. Well, it looks like it's not quite as solved as we expected because we've had a booster explode. We had a booster explode. And we had a booster disintegrate or whatever, or explode on the way down. So, yeah, I think that the fact that they've had to do so much to the booster bodes ill for getting the booster down to mass. That's sort of the long-term risk that I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like I was saying before, that thing is in the critical path. That is the critical path for SpaceX, for Starship's biggest paying customer right now, for NASA. That booster needs to work. You need to get those back. You can't lose 33 engines every time. You might be able to get away with 6 for Starship every time, but I mean, we heard Elon in the past be so adamant about making sure that they can produce enough Raptors, right? Like, I don't even think his best efforts could afford replacing 33 of those things every single flight on like a weekly cadence. That is a really good way to go bankrupt.
Yeah, good point. Well, that was a really good question.
Yep.
It's always a good question when we ramble for a little bit about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually going to have to be headed out really soon because I do need to do some more stuff with birthday.
Okay, excellent. Well, Scott,
so if there's any more
tell
questions,
your son happy birthday.
I will.
And thank you.
Yep.
I'm always glad to come on here, and it's great because you know what? The reason I can put together a video in like a few hours and get it out there is because I have these conversations with smart people that put my brain in the place where it needs to be to analyze this. I don't come up with my conclusions all on my own. I'm paying attention to everyone in the world, especially you guys out there that are taking these photographs, getting these angles, and thinking through the problems. So I'm hoping we have a great flight tomorrow. I'm hoping it's exciting and spectacular. And also, while we're here, I hope Starliner makes it to the space station.
Yeah, me
right?
too.
Right?
Because
Yeah,
that's going to be happening. Yeah.
Well, Scott, once again, thank you so much for taking time on this day, this special day for your son. Thank you so much. And everybody, if you don't know Scott, what are you doing here? You should know Scott. Go check out his channel. Thank you so much, Scott, and fly safe.
Fly safe. Bye.
See you, buddy.
EJ, I can't wait to clip that vacuum raptors. It's too good. It's too good.
If Kevin wants to spam that during Flame Trench, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, can we instead of the Ship 26
fine.
stinger, can we get the Vacuum Raptor stinger?
Vacuum Raptor.
It's too good.
Raptor.
Speaking of too good, I think do we have an Alex? Do we have an Alex yet? Alex is going to jump in place of Scott. Oh, we have a playback next, and then we have Alex. Excellent. Let's watch a video.
To avoid the issues found on the previous test flight, SpaceX has put together a set of improvements on Ship 29 and Booster 11 that will hopefully allow them to complete their planned missions. For one, Booster 11 is attempting a simulated catch over the ocean. Also, Ship 29 needs to have proper attitude control while in space and re-enter through the atmosphere in one piece. One addition that will be crucial on this upcoming flight is the addition of extra roll control thrusters on Ship 29. These are located above the vehicle's methane tank and could act either alongside the existing roll control thrusters or as a backup set to these. This will ensure that this time the ship does not lose attitude control during its coast phase in space and re-enters in the correct orientation. Of course, re-entering in the right orientation is not all that's needed to succeed during this upcoming flight. SpaceX is aiming for the ship to survive re-entry, which means taking special care of the vehicle's thermal protection system. Ever since Flight 3 took place, we've seen a substantial overhaul of Ship 29's heat shield tiles, especially in the places where these are glued rather than tacked on. This included a complete replacement of thermal tiles on the ship's nose cone tip. The process involved removing the tiles, then grinding on the metal surface of the ship, and then installing new tiles back. The tiles in this location are glued onto the surface, and it would appear SpaceX changed the type of glue that they used in this location for a new, different material. We saw a similar process in other locations where glue is used, like on the surface of the aerodynamic flaps or the joints between barrel sections. Additionally, SpaceX also thoroughly tested the adhesive properties of each of the tiles over the course of the 2 or so months since Ship 29 completed engine testing. This adhesive testing was also performed on Ship 28 prior to its flight, and it involved teams going all over the vehicle with suction cups, pulling on the tiles at a certain fixed force, and seeing if they come out or not. For those that didn't pass the test, SpaceX simply replaced them for better ones that did. Ahead of every Starship flight, we tend to see Elon outlining and emphasizing on social media the goals of that Starship flight. As mentioned before, this flight is all about the re-entry, and Elon has mentioned that there are locations on the ship where a loss of a tile could mean the loss of the vehicle. Of course, those changes relate to the ship, but Booster 11 also presents changes as well. For this and future boosters, SpaceX says it has added hardware to the inside of the oxygen tank to further improve propellant filtration capabilities. This will hopefully avoid the continued issues with filter blockage as seen on Flights 2 and 3 of Starship. Additionally, SpaceX says that, quote, utilizing data gathered from Super Heavy's first ever landing burn attempt, additional hardware and software changes are being implemented to increase startup reliability of the Raptor engines in landing conditions. That is essentially saying that now that they know what happens when Raptors try to relight for a booster landing, they've been able to tweak both hardware and software so that this time the landing burn is more successful. Another set of improvements seen on Booster 11 relate to structural reinforcements. These may not necessarily be due to what was found on Flight 3, especially because some of these reinforcements were already seen well before that flight, but SpaceX may have added these just for peace of mind and to improve the overall reliability of the booster during flight. For example, we've seen structural reinforcements on the vehicle's methane tanks with a substantial addition of stringers compared to previous boosters. Other locations with reinforcements are grid fin frames, the liquid oxygen tank, and even on the cowbell vents as well. Going up to the top of the booster, the hot staging ring has also had an interesting change as well. This change was spotted quite a while ago by our own Mary when Booster 11's hot staging ring was being staged next to the Mega Bay prior to its installation on the vehicle. As you can see, the ring has not 3, but 4 guiding pins on the top. The shape of these pins allows SpaceX to guide the ship down to the booster when stacking it on a pad, while a clamp in the middle of these pins holds onto the ship and joins both stages together. Up until now, there were only 3 of these pins, but this hot staging ring has 4. However, the added pin does not have a clamp, and it appears it is more just for extra guiding of the ship down onto the booster than for holding them together better. You can also see a strange piece of hardware that was added next to this pin, which we still have no idea what it's for. Frankly, it could be multiple things, from an added camera to some extra sensor to just a useless added appendage to the side of the ring. While on the hot staging ring, you may notice another change that has been introduced, or rather removed, from the booster, which is this pipe over here. This is the engine chill pipe extension for the ship. As you probably know, Raptor uses cryogenic propellants, meaning that both liquid oxygen and liquid methane are at incredibly low temperatures. In order to not damage the engine when running it, the parts that will see flow of these incredibly cold liquids need to be conditioned ahead of the startup of the engine. This conditioning sees a small amount of liquid oxygen flowing through the oxidizer side of the engine and a small amount of liquid methane flowing through the fuel side of the engine. This cooling of the engine results in the oxygen and the methane heating up and turning into gas. The gaseous methane is reclaimed when the ship is on the ground and then vented overboard through these pipes while it's in space. The gaseous oxygen, on the other hand, is just dumped overboard through these other pipes, and that is what this extension on the booster is for. It just simply allows the gaseous oxygen to exit the ship at a safe distance, and the shortening of these extensions may just mean that SpaceX doesn't think that they're needed to be that long in the first place. After all, whatever amount of mass that they can shave from the booster's dry mass, that's an increase of performance. We can see this new shorter engine chill pipe extension in work on this epic drone shot that SpaceX took. It almost looks like a movie poster. While dozens, hundreds, or perhaps thousands of other changes might have been performed on these vehicles, these are the changes that are most visible and that we know of. Hopefully these will all cooperate today to make sure that both vehicles have a successful flight. So good luck to Ship 29 and Booster 11.
See our faces now, and also we have Alex. I'm pointing the wrong way. We have Alex. Welcome, Alex.
It's a pleasure. Back for a Starship launch again. This is amazing.
Indeed, it is going to be a really great day because it's a day where they were launching Starship. That's a good day, right?
I already had my coffee. I couldn't sleep at all. I'm so excited and nervous. Like, oh boy. And it's like 6 hours away, and we're already. I don't know. It's like a lot of emotions. It's like that Simpsons meme of like every emotion trying to pass through.
Trying to get through the door. So
Exactly.
you're saying you're like Mr.
overwhelmed.
Burns. Okay.
Exactly. I'm overwhelmed right now. It's like I cannot. You know, I'm trying to be right now professional for the stream, but I don't know how much longer I can contain that.
All right.
Look at your company. Believe me, it's fine.
Yeah, sure enough.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I rolled back into the stream freaking out about my orbital bullet time idea, so I think you're doing fine, Alex.
That's a good idea, man.
I was like, I kept literally the entire time I was maybe driving, maybe not. I just kept repeating it over and over in my head. I was like, do not forget this. If this is an idea that just gets lost to the ether, I'm going to be real mad about it. But you know what I'm not going to be real mad about? Is Starship launching today. What? No, what's funny? What's funny, EJ? Go ahead.
No, I could just see you driving a car. Don't forget the cameras. Don't forget the cameras. Don't forget the cameras. Don't forget the camera. Like, I can picture that. I just had that picture in my head. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, right, if I wasn't covered in flop sweat right now from the insane humidity and heat, then I would have been like writing it on my hand, but it would just be a blur at this point if I had written anything on my hand. All right, well, we have Alex. Hooray. Alex, where are we at and what are we going to see next? This is always the question I ask you because you know.
Yeah, and we've been live, I guess, for 2 hours already almost. Like it seems like it was nothing at all. Already 2 hours have
Nothing
passed
at
since
all.
we started the live stream.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. There's
And
another
so
there's
I
another
guess
Simpsons reference for you. Go ahead. Go
yes.
ahead.
So I guess we got an update, right, on where we are right now. The road is closed both at Richardson and also here at LBJ intersection at Highway 4. We played a whole video about where those locations were and everything. So that's the status right now. Road is closed. Launch pad is still not clear, but it's getting there. They're clearing the pad. They're rolling out all of those cars out from the launch site away from it and trying to get everybody out from the launch site area. Once that happens, then we can start through the spool up sequence of the tank farm where they condition all of the lines and fill up the subcoolers with liquid nitrogen, etc., etc. And so that is essentially the next few steps that we are expecting to see. And hopefully, within a few hours, we should see that spool up. We have this amazing vent that we call the Pope vent because it is like this vertical white vent that comes out from a stick, and so it looks kind of like when they announce a new pope, and it's like this white fume coming out from the chimney, and so it's like
Right.
sort of like that. So we call it the Pope vent because it's kind of very clear what it looks like. But yeah, that's sort of the first indication that conditioning is already starting on the tank farm, and that's the first indicator that we'll be looking for. And hopefully, if the launch is on track for that 7:20 a.m. Central Time that Elon posted a few hours ago, then that will mean that we are about 2 hours away, more or less, from seeing that Pope vent appearing on the launch pad. So hopefully, cross your fingers, all your rituals about good luck and everything, so we can see that on time and get ready for that launch in just less than 6 hours and 10 minutes.
It is crazy. I Each time one of these launches, I feel like even when we know the date well in advance, it sort of sneaks up on you, and you work really hard, and you set up a bunch of cameras, and you get ready to do the stream. Alex, I know you and Adrian and Kevin and a bunch of people are working your tails off, getting the stream ship shape and content for it. So one, thank you for doing that, and thank you to everybody that's part of NSF that makes this thing work. But also, it's just suddenly now it's 6 hours away. Like what? I could have sworn it was like 2 weeks away for like a month and a half, and then it was a month away for like another month. Anyways, but yeah, let's talk about this vehicle in particular, Ship 29 and Booster 11, and what are some changes that have been made to these particular vehicles as compared to, say, Flight 3.
Yeah, we had that excellent, summary from Alicia. I wonder who wrote that video. And as she was explaining, there's changes on the ship, there's changes on the booster. We're probably going to talk about the changes to launch, but as well later down the line, especially once the tank farm starts pulling up and everything. There's going to be some few changes that we'll probably spot. But essentially, the whole thing with Flight 3 was the ship lost control and the booster failed. Like we saw it surviving through the boost back burn. We thought it was okay, but the boost back burn was not finished properly. So a lot of the changes that we have seen, at least, and some others that we haven't seen, but we have been told by SpaceX at the very least, those are essentially to be able to not repeat those issues from Flight 3 and potentially upgrade other stuff as well. Like, for example, on the video that we played before with Alicia and everything, it was mentioned that there's structural improvements on Booster 11, such as the methane tank, for example. It has a bunch more stringers. They have reinforced sections on the grid fins and the cowbell vents and things like that. Some of these structural upgrades we actually saw even before the second flight of Starship. You can see actually, you could scroll back, I guess, and you could see that there's a picture of Booster 9 and Booster 11 that you took, Jack. By the way, I took that because it was a really good picture of like Booster 9 and Booster 11, and even that you can already see the differences in the construction of these two vehicles separated like two two apart, right? It's booster 9,
Right.
10, 11. And you could already see that there was a lot more stringers and things like that. And precisely that moment, obviously booster 9 was still around, so that was obviously before flight 2 happened. So a lot of these improvements seem to be pretty much essentially, some kind of peace of mind kind of thing, where they were like, okay, we know that these improvements need to be done anyways, even though we haven't flown yet, let's do it. And then there's another portion as well, as I was mentioning. For example, for Flight 2 and Flight 3, they had issues with filter blockage on the liquid oxygen tank of the booster. So SpaceX, on the latest update after Flight 3, they said that they have improved that on Booster 11 and future boosters as well. So that is another one of the sort of changes that they have been able to do. Ship changes. We've talked about how the ship was not able to control its attitude in space. We had a whole discussion before as well with EJ and Scott Manley, talking about the control of the ship in space and everything, and trying to get through reentry. That is a really important goal for this flight. Getting through that reentry. You cannot do that reentry if your ship is tumbling and doing all sorts of things. There are two new roll control thrusters, this time coming out from the methane tank instead of the liquid oxygen tank. So they have two sets of roll control thrusters. If one fails, they can switch over to the other one, or maybe use both sets at the same time, whatever you wish. We really don't know how they're actually going to be operating them, but either way, they have a backup system, so to speak. The heat shield
Redundancy is good.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about also the heat shield. A lot of people talking about the missing tiles. It seems like it is an experiment. Elon confirmed that on X. So that is essentially what they're doing here. They're putting, a thin tile. Like there was like one tile you could see like the hole, and it was not empty. There was black on it, and on close-up pictures and things like that, you could see that it's just like a very thin tile that they have put there, and then another two spots where the tiles are just completely missing. But as the whole conversation before was talking about precisely about how that location, it's on the engine section, and behind it there's just a narvac. And after reentry, well, if the RVAC gets damaged because of a burn through or something like that, it's not going to be used, right? It's just for the landing burn, because that's another change for this flight as well. They're doing the landing burn with Ship 29, so that's going to use the center Raptor engines. So that's going to be those RVAC engines will not be used. The Raptor vacuum engines will not be used after reentry. Only for the ascent portion, when hot staging happens and everything, and it goes into that near orbital trajectory. But after reentry and everything, only the center engines. And so, hopefully we get to see that. I cannot wait to see another flip and burn. I don't know about you, Jack, because you actually were there for the flip and burns, right? You were actually there
Right.
at Starbase, and I just cannot wait to see one of these, but from orbit, and with the Raptor 2s and everything, and with all of the new changes, and like now the methane header tank is not even on the same location that it was for those flights, for example, and a lot of the plumbing has changed. We have the also on the plumbing we have the Raptor vacuums and all that, even though they're not going to be used, and all that jazz. But still, it's quite exciting, right? That we may see an attempt at the very least today, if all goes well. So hopefully, again, crossing fingers and everything, we get to see all of that. But anyways, if we have any questions or something, let's get through it, because I think I overviewed already all of the major changes. There's
Excellent.
another change that we can talk a bit later, leaving for later.
Yeah, let's put that on the shelf. But you're right. I am very excited to see a flip and burn again. I can't complain, because I'm glad that SpaceX ultimately made the choice that they did to curtail the low altitude flight tests and just move straight to getting the orbital pad built and straight to full stack flights. Because hey, now we're already on flight 4. But at the time, I was like, man, you did the flip and burn, what, four times? 8, 9, 10, 11, and 15. 5 times? Come on, do a couple more. Like, just make sure you can stick it. But clearly SpaceX was confident enough My question though is, how will we see it, and how will we see it? Will it be an onboard camera on ship? In which case, I mean, they had enough trouble getting onboard views from Falcon 9 all the way down, although it's been pretty reliable now. But Falcon 9 doesn't do a flip and burn. And two, you know, would it be maybe a camera on a boat out in the middle of nowhere? Who knows? Maybe it's bullet time from orbit. Who knows?
Anyway, the interesting thing, I did the pose.
Yeah.
Now we're with cameras, so I can do it.
Oh God, you're right.
One of the interesting things is that people were asking, like, does it actually have like newer type of engines? Did the engines change? Yes, like that's the thing with the hubs. It was with the Raptor 1 design. It was, we saw, at least for example on SN9, there was a lot of, like, there was one engine that failed, and so it just flipped and, like, it just bonked against the ground.
Right.
They were also having issues with the pressurization system and things like that. Now they have flown 3 full stack flights. I really hope they have understood a lot better the whole pressurization stuff. Man, there's so much progress since
I feel like
then.
SpaceX completes these incremental flight tests, and it's like a progress bar filling up, right? Like the first time they fly, something fails, and the progress bar goes up a little bit. And the second time they fly, something fails, but the progress bar goes a little bit up, and eventually gets to the point where they're landing Falcon 9s left and right, and you're not even thinking about it. But you can look back on a time where they were filling up that progress bar and incrementally getting closer and closer to getting a Falcon 9 properly landed. And I can't help but wonder if the flip and burn progress bar is full and it's a solved problem and they're good, or if they just sort of deferred filling up that I'm killing this metaphor, but if they deferred working on that to get through re-entry first. It'll be interesting to see. Either way, I cannot wait to see the onboard cameras from today's flight. It's going to be amazing, and I'm just my mind was blown on Flight 3, right? I'm sure for both of you it was the same way. Like, EJ,
is that
were you Hopper, you mean?
Oh, I have it here. There.
No, that's Boosty. That's Booster 11.
Don't Boosty. No, we're not doing this again.
I'll
Booster
do what I want.
11 and Starhopper.
Good deal.
What were you saying, Jack?
Nothing. Moving on. Let's do some more. Let's do some more questions. Let's do some more questions. Here's a really good one that's sort of on topic from Tristan. They're asking, how much different could the flip and burn be or look from the suborbital flights, with the RVACs and shielding shifting the ship's center of gravity? Also, are they attempting a payload door test today? So first off, no payload door test on this flight, right, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, even if they wanted to, right now the door is locked. They have these locks on the door that, they just screw them on or bolt them on. I don't really know how they actually secure them, but they have these locks on the payload bay door. And so right now the door will not be able to be opened even if they wanted to. So they will have to actually destack the ship and have to remove those locks to be able to do that. But also, on the other hand, as you were mentioning, the flip and burn, it's actually interesting because I think my internet had a small hiccup, but anyways, so the interesting about the flip and burn is that the timeline that the SpaceX gave says flip and then land and burn, whereas when we did, we saw the landings, the SM hops, it was like first you ignite the engines and then you flip and land. It's like takes, on top of that, it takes like 10 seconds. Which is
they used the gimbaled engines
does it take 10 seconds?
They used the gimbaled engines to help do the flip, right? And so maybe they're trying to accomplish the flip with just the flaps? ? Before they ignite the engines. I mean, that would certainly
it'd certainly be easier to load up your to feed your propellants that way. Because part of what I was talking about a little bit earlier is that, when Starship's coming down doing its belly flop, and don't get me wrong, when I was giving this explanation, I was still putting my hands up, even though the cameras weren't on. Sorry about that. You're coming in parallel to the ground. and you're trying to feed propellant this way into a rocket engine, the engines are over here, right? Trying to feed the propellants right to do that flip is very, 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 very complicated. You run the risk of ullage gas ingestion, which is what happened to them. That's why one of the engines decided it wanted to go engine rich and shoot engine parts out the back, right? So if they were using the aero surfaces to do the flip and then firing the engines, that could be advantageous to make sure that you have a more well understood case for relighting an engine of a vehicle that's coming back down.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's exactly what I was thinking. You don't want that propellant sloshing around while you're trying to land, and flipping with the flaps first would certainly be a way to accomplish that. And I sort of wonder, maybe the way that they did the flip and burn for the low altitude flights was precisely that, because it was low altitude. They would mitigate a large blast danger area by igniting the engines lower to the ground. I don't know. Who knows? But either way,
yeah. Go ahead. If Starship is, they put Starship like, I don't know, what was it, like 40,000 feet up there? That's not close to the ground. I think the reason why they had to come down from such a high height was to make sure that it hit terminal velocity.
Right.
Which is what you would most likely encounter. Like, I don't know, maybe hopefully that doesn't get damaged. Like Scott and I were talking about, making it through EDL, right? That's most likely mimicking the landing conditions. So I'm not sure about like firing the engines near to the ground, but it's very clear that they have changed something because of the timeline, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of timelines, we are way behind on thanking people for support. So I do want to run through some support here from everybody. So thank you. We have the coolest job. We really have the coolest job. And the only reason we can do this stuff is because people come out and watch the streams and support what we do. And I just have to caveat the massive the massive list of names that I'm about to read of people who came to the channel by saying, please don't feel bad if you cannot support or do not choose to support us monetarily. It does not have to be a monetary thing. Just hit the like button. Just tell your friends about us. We want to keep this channel growing. We want to keep growing what we do so we can do more cool stuff. If we had a blank check, the things we could do, you guys. So to that end, thank you so much, everybody. Here we go. TN Sportsman, thank you for supporting us with a super chat there. Musical Wolves, thank you as well. Zathirs, wow. Thank you. That's a hard one to say. A lot of people too are saying things like Zathirs here. Thank you guys so much for this and always inspiring me like that. I can't adequately express how sweet that is. And people coming up to us down here at Starbase, thanking us for what we do. It's amazing. So Gold Wolf, thank you for the support. Musical Wolves, thank you so much for that. Musical Wolves always coming out. Musical Wolf says, did Starliner line the Starlinks for Starship? I had to do it. It's Musical Star Wolves. The Mad Scientist, thanks for the support. Joshua, thank you. Captain Crunch, thank you. They're a lifetime L2 member. Hit up L2 if you want even more stuff. There's so much stuff on L2. It's amazing. Yet another way you can support NSF and what we do. Check out the L2 paid section of the NSF forum. If you didn't know that exists, suffice to say there is a plethora of awesome stuff there. Thank you so much, Captain Crunch, for doing your first super chat. Space Ignorant, thanks for the support. Hamster Space Nerd 3000, I feel like they should get a sound effect. They say, sounds like y'all could use some coffee. I wonder if DoorDash goes that far. Fun fact, no.
Now, despite what you might think, I am actually not in the field here. I know it might be difficult to tell. So
Really?
I have a gas station down the street that I can go. Yeah, Alex, I don't know about you. You got 24-hour gas stations over there? They got the Red Bull stock in that place. Oh,
it's funny because I'm actually here and I'm sitting in a shipping container with clutter behind me because I'm a monster and I haven't cleaned up. And you guys aren't here, but you have the Starbase background, so that's pretty funny. David Lane, thank you for the support. They said at least I got the patch this time. They said, guys, I've been here since Gemini, waiting on you guys to be born and be here. Thank you so much, Dave. That's amazing. I met a guy that was
That's
alive.
a long time to wait for me.
I met a guy who was alive for Apollo 17 a couple days ago out at Rocket Ranch. Shout out to Rocket Ranch. And he made a custom shirt that said it's orange, from our intro, with a picture of the orange soil on it. I was like, wow, that's dedication.
It is indeed orange.
It is. So am
It's
I.
orange.
Echo Deal,
Like this
thank you for the support. Benny, grabbing something from the store, thank you so much. Boot, thank you for the support. Tommy, QC, thank you so much. They say super excited for IFT4. Thank you, NSF, for the awesome coverage. Alex, are we still calling it IFT? Is SpaceX still calling it IFT? What should I be calling this?
They never called it IFT. That's my take on it, and I will not. Yeah, I will essentially just stick to it. It's just Flight 4. This is just fourth flight. No IFT or anything.
Yeah, I've kind of just been going with Starship Flight 4.
Yeah.
At this point, all the flight tests will be integrated, so it's a useless word.
Yeah.
It's almost like, this one I feel much less strong about, but orbital launch pad. We don't have suborbital launch pads at the launch site anymore, so you can just call it orbital pad. And then when the second one comes online, it can be orbital pad 1 and orbital pad 2. Nice and simple. Crafty.
Can I
What?
just
Go.
make it a thing and just call it pad A and pad B? Like,
into it.
Can we do that? Can we make that a thing, chat?
Yep.
How do you call then the Starship pad at 39A? Is it like 39A Starship?
39AB.
39A super heavy, like.
Well, we'd have to.
Starship?
If 39A, if it's number, letter, right? That would mean that the next character would have to move into Greek, so it'd be 39A Alpha. Yeah. All right.
Well, yeah.
39A Bravo.
39A
Beta.
Ashes, because it's like 39 Ashes.
All right, moving on.
Hey,
Crafty Geek, thank you so much.
Starship.
Work.
Crafty
Sorry,
Geek with a $10 tip to tips.nasaspaceflight.com. Yet another way you can support what we do that doesn't go through the YouTube overlords, goes straight to us. So thank you so much, Crafty Geek, for choosing to support us in that way. Now they say, any idea if there will be any WB-57s or other air assets observing the launch? I have no idea. I've been in remote camera setup land and stress land. So Alex, I'm going to look at you and say, question mark?
Let me check the schedule. I think they were originally intended to be for the first attempt on June 1st, but the schedule no longer says anything for today. So, for Flight 3, I don't remember they actually went up there with a WB-57. So,
to my knowledge, they did not.
Yeah.
Although I'm pretty sure there were some air assets that were deployed. I don't know. But yeah, no WB-57s.
Planes in the area, at least by all accounts from Flight
Speaking of planes, I know we have 2 hours of support. I didn't even make a dent in it. But speaking of planes, you know what we didn't see today? Speaking of differences in planes, can you guess where I'm going with this? What didn't we see today as compared to previous Starship launches?
We haven't seen yet. There's 5 hours, 47 minutes, and 28 seconds to go. There could be a chance that they still do a flyover, and I know what you're talking about, the Polaris crew.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah,
Jared Asik, man.
Yeah.
I knew where you were going.
I had like like Pavlov's dog. I was like, except instead of a bell, it was plane sounds. And the whole entire time we were doing remote setup, I could like, plane sounds, grab camera. But no flyover today. Because for Flight 3, they flew over during remote setup. So it was, yeah, go ahead.
Also, during the launch countdown, we saw them pass it by from a hotel cam. I think it was a hotel cam.
That's right.
They passed with the 2 jets. It was 2 in that case, because I think they also have like another 2 more. And when they did the first flyover, it was 4 of them. But the one that they did during the countdown, it was like 2 of them. And yeah, that's the hotel camera. Right now, obviously, it's middle of the night, but that was like as soon as the sun rose a little bit, we saw the planes go by. It was cool.
Heck
like
yeah.
I was in commentary at the point. I was like, was it? Was that a Jared flyover?
Gotta love it. Brandon Turner, thank you for the support. Tommy QC becoming a Pad Rat member. Thank you so much to all of our membies. Roger S gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Holy cow. Thank you, Roger. And if you want to get a gifted membership, just be active in chat. I think that's kind of how YouTube bases who gets the gifts. And I think it's a setting you have to turn on. So if you're wondering like, oh, I'm in chat all the time, why didn't I get gifted a membership? Make sure you have that setting turned on. I don't recall exactly what it is off the top of my head, but you're smart. You'll figure it out. RP1 for breakfast. What? I'm having faith in our audience. They're smart. They'll figure it out.
They will, no doubt. Benny Chat's going to.
RP1 for breakfast. Thanks for gifting a Red Team membership. Tim Fields gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Bob Bright, thank you for the $20 tip for coffee. Moldy Space. Oh, Moldy Space. Why do you have to be in California while I'm in Texas? Hopefully soon I can be in California while you're in California. But either way, thank you for all the support over the years, Moldy. You're the best. Andrew, grabbing something from the store. What did they get? Ooh, they got the hoodie. They got the Flight 4 hoodie. They say, go Starship. Hoodie number 4 for the collection. Nice. Alan Buckley gifting a Red Team membership. Tommy with another super chat. Tommy coming out with a lot of super chats today. They're asking, did they fix the missing tile at the bottom of Starship? Define fix.
No, I don't think they. I don't know. I don't
It
think they
is
did.
not a fix, yeah.
It's just a
That's on
really
purpose.
tiny. One of them has a tiny tile, a little thin boy, and then the other two are still no tile, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Fields, thank you so
Oh.
much for the support. Oh, what, Alex?
Marcus House is in chat. Hi.
Hey, Marcus.
What's up,
Nice to
Marcus?
see you.
I might.
I think we have. Do we have Marcus on commentary in a little bit?
Shh.
Oh, whoa, leaks, leaks. Tim Fields, thank you for
the surprise, man.
I blew it. Oh, geez, I'm sorry.
More coffee,
Tim,
dude.
I have Red Bull here, but I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if it's coming through on cameras, but let's see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 visible beetles right now. I'm being attacked by beetles. If I get carried away by beetles in the middle of this, then yeah. So I can't really liberally drink the coffee because it's full of beetles. Tim is asking or saying, been subscribed ever since the most popular crane stream of all time when they were building Mechazilla. Love everything you all do and keep up the amazing work.
Yeah.
Here's a question that this excellent bit of support has me wondering. When they bring in the, what is it, LR 111350, something like that, it's a
crane.
Utterly massive crane, the same crane I presume they used to build Orbital Pad 1. Do you think we'll get Franken crane again and it'll be all Rasta colored like the last time, or do you think it'll be a configuration that is just all one color?
It's actually a good question. A little bit of okay, so there's going to be some crane nerdiness coming here.
No, you need to nerd out hard on cranes for like a minute solid, so I can spray my face with bug spray, but not on screen, so that chat can make gifs of me spraying my face with bug spray. Because again, beetles. So please tell us about cranes, EJ.
Okay, so the question was whether we're going to get that Skittles colored crane that's going to come back. So first of all, what is that thing? That crane is it's a Liebherr. I think it was a 13,000 with a power boom attachment. That's what it's called. It's where the boom of the crane bows out. So what types of cranes are these, and why was it all different colors? These cranes are lattice crawler cranes. So lattice cranes meaning that you can configure them. It's like playing with Legos. You can configure them, which is why it's a bunch of different colors. Believe it or not, it's like 3 or 4 different cranes. 3 or 4 different lattice cranes that are all made by Liebherr, and you can just string them together and make the power boom attachment, right? Now, for building the second pad, so that crane was rented as opposed to the Liebherr 11,000 that SpaceX has right now. That's they bought that crane with a certain amount of attachments. Like you can buy it a la carte, right? You can add more attachments to it, like a jib or a mast or I forget what the other pieces are off the top of my head. Sorry, it's also very late. I haven't slept in a little while. So
no Trunnions?
No for Trunnions. Yes.
Yeah.
We might see the it's possible that we'll see, to move those tower segments, that we'll see the 13,000 with the power boom attachment, because that power boom was needed to basically handle the weight of these cranes, or weight of the tower segments. The cranes were able to handle the weight of the tower segments. So yeah, it's possible. I mean, that crane was rented. It's not SpaceX doesn't own it. But then again, that SpaceX didn't have their Libre 11,000, which is also once again a lattice crawler crane. They did not have those. They did not have that when they were originally building the tower. So, I mean, SpaceX could maybe buy more attachments. Like I said, these crane parts are a la carte. You could just keep buying pieces to it, and it's like Legos. You could just build a bigger crane if you buy more parts. So it's possible that SpaceX could have brought that in-house, or we could see the Skittles crane come back. I mean, or the Rasta crane. That was cool.
Rasta crane, yeah, Rasta crane.
I actually like that. I like that name better. So, yeah, it's possible. Or SpaceX could just purchase the attached pieces that you need to make the power boom. Alex, what do you think?
One of the things that, so the whole reasoning of the parts being different colors when we had Franken crane at Starbase was precisely that they had, they rushed to get that crane together, and like all the parts were from different colors because it was like different models. I actually checked, and it's like an LR 11,350. So it's a little bit over the one that they have, but not the full one. It's like 13,000. Like that's the biggest of the biggest.
13's a big boy.
Exactly. That's the big one. But this one is like a little bit lower, but still larger than the 11,000 that they have. But
basically, there's only so many of those, right?
Exactly.
And so if somebody like SpaceX calls up somebody that owns these cranes to rent one for a job, you're like, hey, we need this exact configuration. They'll say, okay, we can do that. And then they call all the other people with parts of that crane, like, hey, are you using a super boom right now? And they're like, no, we got 2 of them. And then that's how you get Rasta crane.
Yeah. But then when they built the tower at 39A, that one, the crane was all yellow. And actually, then they transported that crane all over to Slick 40. That crane built the launch tower for Starship at 39A. And then it was, moved to Slick 40 to build the crew access tower at Slick 40. So that crane, it was all yellow and no, different parts. I guess for that one, they actually hired that on time. And they didn't need to rush to get different parts of different cranes, and so they were able to use it for both towers, which is quite amazing. Maybe we see something like that this time around, because they've been planning segments for this second tower at Starbase have been appearing at Roberts Road for 2 years at the very least, I think. So it must have been in the plans for a long time.
Yeah, that crane, I'd like to add, Alex, that crane, the one that built 39A and 40, that also built the service structures at 36 as well. Those power booms are needed to lift the heavy sub-assemblies for the pad GSE. So Slick 36, a blues pad as well. The crane's all over the place. It's been getting some mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harry knows. Yes, Harry's like 36. Where? See him pop up in chat.
Good old
Harry knows.
What's up,
hey,
Harry?
Maybe soon we see a new Glenn on the pad, like an actual new.
Fingers
Glenn.
crossed. I'm so excited to see New Glenn launch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Starship is cool, but there's a lot of other cool rockets out there, and we gotta
more
enjoy
than one,
them.
dude. Yep.
Exactly. Cannot wait to see more.
Black Hawk New Zealand gifting 5 red team memberships. Thank you so much, Black Hawk New Zealand. I hope everybody that gets a gifted membership thanks the person that gifted it to you. It's just a cool thing. It's a really cool thing. I'm glad YouTube implemented it. You're supporting us by gifting the memberships, and you're giving something like a surprise. It's like a surprise. Now you have extra content. So that's really cool. So thank you, Black Hawk New Zealand, for doing that. That's another one of those names we see pop up all the time. So thank you. It's again, we have the coolest dang job, and the only reason we can do it is because y'all support. Let's see. Farsidious, thank you for the super chat. Blake Alexander, yet another common name. I love seeing our buddies pop up. Gifting 5 red team memberships. Speaking of the memberships, I think we have a little video detailing what you get at each membership level. Do we not?
Would you like to know more?
Yeah.
I would. So yeah, at Padrat, your name is highlighted in chat. You get members only emoji. At Red Team, you get all the Padrat perks, and you get access to exclusive content on YouTube. At Capcom level, you get access to the Discord, which is really great. At Launch Director, you get your name at the end of every NSF Live and Flame Trench. And the same thing goes for Flight Engineer, plus, of course, the Discord access, plus, of course, all of the other perks, all the exclusive content, all that good stuff. So, oh yeah, and there's the members multi-view. So if you don't like the sound of our voices, you can go watch the multi-view, which doesn't have our voices.
It's running right now. Yeah.
Or you can go watch the multi-view just to see all the camera angles and also watch us and hear our voices if you don't hate our voices. But yeah, all kinds of extra photos that don't get posted on the socials or you just wouldn't see otherwise. It's pretty great, the member program.
Scenes before shows, sometimes on Discord as well.
Yes, the pre-show and the post-show for the Flame Trench. I'm a big fan of the pre-show and the post-show for the Flame Trench. That's a new one we recently started doing. We're always trying to add more and make the members happy because, again, we have the coolest dang job, and we could not do this without y'all's support. It's just absolutely insane. The number of people working behind the scenes to make this thing go. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's not just us three here. It's not just the people you hear on streams. It's so many people. It's the chat mods. It's the stream producers. It's the SBL ops. It's the social team. It's people like Alex who not only are on stream but are also writing a whole bunch of videos. Adrian. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And of course, I don't know, Das, which hopefully we'll get him on at some point tonight. That'd be really nice, right?
Really? Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds nice, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, quick question. For no reason, is bug spray bad for MacBook screens? Because I think I'm seeing a little. Discoloration here.
It's probably
Anyways.
Cooking it off. It'll boil off.
Yeah.
Rocket does that, so it works here too.
It's basically just Windex, right?
Okay. We have the Apple expert in back channel, Gage,
saying yes. Great. Let's see. Robert grabbing the Flight 4 patch from the store. They say, love you guys, or love what you guys do. Go Flight Test 4. And while I obscure my face with the merch banner there, showing the Flight 4 patch, which is utterly amazing. It's a really good patch. It's like a stupid good patch. Yeah, you have one. Look how good that looks. Like it's
I actually have 3.
What? I didn't get any. I had to buy mine.
I give to family and everything, so
okay.
Yeah.
Well, the
also
thing about the
meetups,
patches,
if we have more meetups.
Good point. The thing about patches that I want to mention is we are under 10% left. When we buy the patches, we only get so many. There's only so many. And I know a bunch of people were bummed that they could not get the Flight 3 patch, which is sold out and there won't be more of. So this is me right now telling you that if you want the Flight 4 patch, now is the time to get it because there's like 10% left. So, yeah. And you know what? If you don't want the patch, if you're not a patch person, that sick design that Pauline made is on a bunch of other stuff too, including hoodies and shirts and mugs and etc. So go check out the shop. Yet another way you can support what we do. Thank you so much for anybody that even considers doing so. You're the best.
I gotta ask you, Jack, do you have the NSF patches? Because there's these things that I believe some of the people in the field, if you find one of those, sometimes you get these. So I have them already.
Yeah, so I saw RC Horseman today. In real life, which is really cool because RC Horseman has been in chat, I don't even know how long, probably forever. So that was really cool to see RC Horseman. I'm out of those patches. Like, I've given them all out. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know, what do you, can I give you a Slim Jim? He was like, ew, no.
I could get it here. Look, see?
I'll take a Slim Jim.
But luckily, you want a thin James? You want a narrow Jim?
Yes, I would like one, please. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll see if I can DoorDash you one. But yeah, RC Horseman did find Das, and I forget who else, maybe D. But RC Horseman got patches, so that's the deal. If you find us out here in the field, you get a patch if we have one on them, and you're not like me and completely out of patches. But yeah, that's a cool thing. Oh man, it's launch day, guys.
It is launch day, my dude.
5.5 hours. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm coming to terms with this fact. I have
So
a lot of gear to set up still. Go ahead, Alex.
I have a question because we'll be talking about a few things here in a sec. Do we see any cars at the pad? Because I don't see any lights from cars. You know, they usually like wait around in the gates. And this is like a wide view shot of road that is right in front of the launch site. So I don't see any cars right now there, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, Carson in our back channel saying one left. So is maybe just one
left.
Maybe just one car left.
Is that one left the launch site or that there's one remaining? To be fair, it could be both because I think there were 2 cars left. So
Yeah.
if one left, there's also one left. But yeah, English, man, it's so weird. As an
How does it
Spaniard, I
work?
can tell you, yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
You get no disagreement from me.
Let's do some more questions. How about?
I'm in.
Let's do
SK
it.
is asking, how much longer do you think SpaceX will keep Ship 26 around?
I think after what we saw it light up. That was really awesome. I think it's done. I think stick a fork in it, please.
That's it?
Please.
I mean, another patch to the face. Yeah, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that is all we see Ship 26 do. At the same time, I won't be surprised if Ship 26 does a lot more. I don't know. We'll see what happens. What
stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Alex?
Well, you know, despite a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's gonna fly," I will believe in it flying if yes, Kevin is the best ship, whatever. Because I'm already seeing him in chat and in the back channel. He's typing in both places that it is the best ship. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of changes that have been made. I mean, we've talked about them just this time on all the changes that have occurred on Ship 29, but also Ship 28 also introduced a lot of changes. And if you compare those 2 vehicles, 28 and 29 to 26, they introduced so many different changes compared to how 26 is. That is like, I don't think 26 will be able to fly. But it has engines, it has tanks, it has vents, it can fire engines, right? So that's all they did for the tested masses this Monday. So if it whatever it is good for, sure, they'll probably use it, as long as it is useful for whatever things they might be doing. But unless I see any sort of retrofits or upgrades or anything like it, I don't believe it's gonna fly. Again, if they actually retrofit things to it, then I'll reconsider my position, but I don't think it will fly.
All right, well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, dude.
We'll see. We will see. I also don't expect it to fly. I never expected it to fly, but at this point, I've said that on stream, like, to lots of people many times. So, if there's one way to make a fool of yourself, that's, declare something with certainty on the internet and then see how that goes. So we'll see. You never know. Maybe I just willed Ship 26 into flight.
Only Siths speak in absolutes.
That sounds like something a Sith would say. It's an absolute. It's an absolute.
No, this
you
statement
said
is false.
Only. You said. Oh man, Roland Hines, thank you for the support. The French Taunter, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Nicholas says hello, chat. Bideford, thank you for gifting 50 Red Team memberships. Also, hi Bideford. Everybody say hi to Bideford. Thank you for all the support over the years, Bideford. 50 Red Team memberships. That's insane. Bideford. Margarita. Yeah. Brandon, thank you for the support. They say for the computing power rental fee fund to compile this 3D jellyfish experience.
Yes.
Orbital
Yes.
bullet time. Orbital Gaussian splatting needs to happen. Yeah,
Yep.
Alex is just gonna do the pose every time. I'm just gonna keep bringing it up so you keep having to do the pose.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anonymous grabbing the Flight 4 patch. Grabbing 2. Wayno with a $50 tip. Wayno, thank you so much. They say, go Starship, go NSF. Thanks to the entire NSF team for their hard work and dedication every day, but especially epic days like today. Also, hello.
Hello.
Brandon, thank you for the support. They say NSF needs more Scott Manley for commentator. Yeah, that was awesome. I was right there with Chris, EJ. I was just listening to you and Scott chat, and I was like, let's go. This is a 5-course meal. I'm tucking in with a fork and a knife. Like, let's go.
I mean, I'm a big Scott Manley fan. You know, he's taught me stuff over the years. I'm not gonna not go and pick his brain if I have the opportunity to. Anyway, Alex, go.
We have an update. It looks like the last car is leaving the pad.
Yeah, baby.
I don't know if we have a view of that. Oh!
Sorry, something just tried to bite my neck. Something just tried to bite my neck.
Oh my lord.
Sorry.
This is what happens when... Look, guys. This is what happens when you're in the field, right? This is like live from the field. So it's
not embarrassing at all.
That's that last car leaving the pad. We believe it's the last car leaving the pad. So potentially we might be then in pad clear ? I guess we'll find out soon once that tank farm starts pulling up, but that could be the last car to leave the launch pad area. Try to focus.
Excellent. Excellent.
Alex, is the pad clear? Question. Yeah, some people got it. You got it. All right.
I did not. I failed you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We are checking.
Yeah. See,
I'm also pretty sure I'm gonna have nightmares about this launch. I'm covered in beetles. Go ahead, Alex.
You really have, you should have done some kind of cleaning around of all the beetle,
no, they appeared only after I set up this light. It's the light that's attracting them. Anyways, please continue.
It's just like you. But yeah, so one of the funny things is that, for every flight, and spoiler alert, for every flight either of a Starship or even Falcon 9, you may notice that we have a timeline and everything, a graphic that pulls up. For this flight, for every Starship flight, is very complicated because there's so many things to go through in the pre-launch timeline that when I had to, there's, I'm essentially the guy that helps Kevin set up the list of all the things that need to be presented. The first few items are very complicated because the first 3 things that we sort of waiting for are the road closure and the launch pad cleared and the tank farm spool up. And the thing is, 3 times are very, very approximate. Like sometimes, the road closure was supposed to start at midnight Central, but I think it started actually like half an hour before that. There were already cars, police cars on some of the roadblock locations and everything.
Yeah, some of the roadblock locations. There was definitely none at the soft roadblock or at the Massey's roadblock, at least not right at midnight, which is interesting because in the past we have seen those all sort of go up at the same time. Anyways, I interrupted you. Please continue.
It's okay. No, that actually drives the whole point that I'm trying to make here, that, the timelines for those 3 first events, so to speak, are very fluid. And so right now, this potential clearing of the pad, which again, we'll probably get a much more firm confirmation once we get into spool up of the tank farm. It tends to happen around the T-5 hour time, so we should be a little bit ahead of time here, which is good. I essentially made the whole timeline. Again, we'll see it later once the operators have it ready and everything. But once you see it, you see that it's time's approximate. It's not for certain. After that, we get the launch pad chill down, like all of the propellant lines to the tank, to the tower, to the OLM. Those are a little bit more controlled. It's usually about 90 minutes before liftoff. Sometimes 100 minutes, kind of depends. But yeah, and then after that, all of the times from the SpaceX website, which are really, really more precise. So yeah.
Well, just inching closer and closer to launch. I'm excited. I'm
very excited.
I'm scared to drink my Red Bull because I feel like it's gonna be full of beetles.
No, come on, cannonball it. Come on, cannonball it.
I'm scared.
Let's go,
And if
cannonball
not,
it.
I'm scared.
If not beetles, it's probably full of the anti-bug spray or whatever you've used.
Well, also yes.
They're saying in the back channel that it adds proteins. So just
Stop.
Yep.
I want to keep thanking people because we're still we're 88 minutes behind thanking people. So let me run through some more of these here, really quick.
Well, actually, Jack, before you do that, I think let's keep on the timeline. I think my time here is done.
Oh,
actually,
you're right.
Jump
Wow.
into that.
My how time flies. It's already
Thank you,
2. It's
EJ.
already 2 a.m. EJ,
Yeah.
thank you so much for bringing your
is.
knowledge and your wisdom and your fun brain to the stream.
I try. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege being in here, and I don't take it lightly. I say this after every time, but it doesn't mean it's any less true. So yeah, thank you, and I'll see everybody on the other side of the launch.
Absolutely. Thanks, EJ. And once again, EJ has a Twitch. He streams all the time on there. He's an absolute machine. His streams are amazing. It's the same deal I said with Scott, where if you don't know EJ, if you don't watch EJ on Twitch, what are you even doing here? So be sure to check out EJ's Twitch. It's awesome. You're awesome.
Thanks, guys. You as well. The entire team works overtime here. Like
me no, the team, yes.
Well, you have to pay your dues by the Beatles. You know,
Right.
that's your. That's
My
paying
face
your
is
dues.
numb. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to spray your face with bug spray, but my face is numb. Anyways, thank you, EJ.
All right. See you guys. Thank you very much.
There's EJ's info there in the top right, and make sure you follow him on all the things, and make sure you watch his Twitch. All right, I do believe we have another video, do we not?
Yeah.
Starship's 4th flight will feature not just changes to the vehicles, but also changes to the launch pad, which you may see in action today. One big change you might notice relative to the last flight is the removal of a few of the big vertical tanks that were part of the original tank farm at the orbital launch site. These consisted of 8 tanks, and 2 of them had already been removed prior to Flight 3. Another 3 have been removed since then, and the 3 remaining are already offline. To replace these big vertical tanks, SpaceX has undergone a massive expansion of the tank farm to the west, adding 9 extra horizontal tanks for liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen. These are already online and have been used during full stack testing of Ship 29 and Booster 11 prior to their flight. In recent weeks, more work has been done next to these tanks to perhaps add more horizontal tanks to the tank farm, but right now it's very early to tell. We also don't know what SpaceX may do with the locations where the old vertical tanks were located, but they could also take advantage of that to add even more propellant storage at Starbase. Another set of upgrades we've seen during the refurbishment process after Flight 3 was the replacement of the hold-down arm linkages on the orbital launch mount by newer and upgraded ones. Additionally, the booster quick disconnect received a new door that should better protect the booster umbilicals from the fury of all 33 Raptor engines at the base of the rocket. But it's not just the orbital launch mount that's seen additional protections to survive through a Starship liftoff. We've also seen SpaceX teams adding protections to the wiring and piping on the launch tower chopstick arms. The addition of these protections will hopefully mean no major work will be needed on the arms after this upcoming flight. Another change that we've seen for these chopsticks has been the upgrade of the actuator for the left arm. This is translated into a much faster opening and closing movement of this arm compared to just a few months ago. This is potentially one of the many incremental upgrades to allow these chopstick arms to catch the booster in the near future. Another change you may notice at the launch site for this mission is that the suborbital launch pad is no longer there. SpaceX has removed this launch pad and the tank farm that was here as well in order to leave room for the upcoming second orbital launch pad at Starbase. Foundation work for the launch tower is already well underway, and 7 out of the 9 tower sections that make up its structure are already staged at Starbase. The other 2 remaining sections, as well as the chopstick arms and the carriage system, have recently left the Kennedy Space Center and are en route to Starbase. This all but guarantees that perhaps by the next flight of Starship, the skyline at the launch site will most likely look a lot different than it does today.
You're such a good explainer. But you know who's also a good explainer, possibly also in videos? Marcus, how you doing, bud?
Hey, how's everybody going?
You know, no complaints. So far, everything seems to be ticking along, and that makes me a happy guy. How about you?
Yeah. Look, already starting to get nervous. We're 5 hours away now, a little bit over 5 hours away. It's like, whoa, butterflies already kicking in.
All right. Can you guys hear me over here on this end? Over on the Twitch end?
How's everybody doing? Where's everybody tuning in from? Sound out.
Oh, yeah.
How many people from Australia are here?
All right.
That's always a fun question. I mean,
Cool. All right, let me switch up the feeds. Give me 1 second. Okay. I am actually going to switch over to looking at the YouTube feed here. So you guys I should be cutting audio back in on the screen.
By the time we
there we go.
By the time we sort
Perfect.
of have this thing wrapped up, so yeah, we'll see how we go.
And here I am.
I just realized this is like the Deep
There we
Space
go.
Network because Jack is at the US, I'm in Spain, and you are in Australia. So it's like the Deep Space Network.
If only I
on
was in the
NSF.
Mojave Desert, it would be perfect.
Yeah. Look, I mean, we are literally scattered just everywhere in the world, and it's always such an honor to join here because you guys are the authority. I'm a huge fan of your work, Jack and Alex, and like.
Hey, Evan.
Jack
is
it,
in
it still
comics,
blows my
yes.
mind that we get to do this, that we get to sort of connect across the world. Like I really couldn't be much further away from where this activity is all going on. So I absolutely appreciate everybody here. I mean, geez, there's over 10,000 of us here. It's the middle of the night in the US. Obviously, what is it? 2 a.m. in Texas. Like it's
He's on site. Like
it blows my mind how many
he's
people
in the NSF
come
to
to witness this huge thing.
basically on the edge of
even though we're still a long
hazard
way from
area.
flight. But
Yeah, I mean,
what's going on? How are you, Jack?
No complaints. I mean, it really is cool, and in the weirdest way.
I don't know why the camera isn't working. That's
as
peculiar.
not fun as that was.
Give me 1 second.
This program gave us all something to sort of focus on and look forward to, and
It wasn't working on their end either. That was on the old webcam, believe it or not, when I was on
happy
there.
vision of the future, and here we are. All
NSF has a of course they do.
after
Like, and they have a
times,
house.
and we still
There's
get
a
to
NSF safe
do
house
this, and
down
it's
there.
even cooler now that it's a full stack. It's pretty great. It's nice
Huh.
to have a
Okay.
giant, several 100-foot tall, shining
1 second,
example of what
dudes.
humans
Gotta
can do
troubleshoot
when they
this
put their minds to
problem.
something.
Yeah. I mean, this thing still amazes me. Just the size of it. I really still can't comprehend it. Really, like the mass of it. The mass of it. You're just talking many, thousands and thousands of tons just being able to lift off the pad. It's hard to believe that it's possible, honestly, to lift something without it all breaking apart. And there's definitely.
I
some
open up the
moving
camera
forces
hub
going
so
on
I
in
can,
the
be on the
booster and things like
screen,
that, which I'm sure we'll
considering
get
it's
to.
my stream and it doesn't.
But just the
It does
spectacle
not
of
want to
it,
do it.
it-
That's
it
that's
kind of-
good.
it leaves me without words to really. But
Huh.
it's like I'm actually a really hopeless live streamer. That's why I don't do it very much
The heck's
because
going on with this
I
thing?
get.
Give me 1
I
second,
just
dudes.
don't
Gotta-
buy it all. I get emotional really because it's
I
something.
think the camera may have overheated.
Even as a kid, I'm sure it's the same for you guys. Like we've
Here, I'm
grown
gonna-
up with this dream of for all mankind,
Let
or
me get the screen
or any of these shows that we've seen recently, and like the start of it, it really does. And if everything goes to plan, this lowering the mass to orbit cost to me is the thing that number one makes everything possible.
Right.
Even failing attempts to sort of go further than that, just to low Earth orbit, to putting multiple 100 tons of stuff into orbit for low cost. That's such a groundbreaking thing by itself. So yeah, to me, it's just this dream, and you just want to hope that we can engage as many people to make them understand what is changing here and what the future could be. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's exciting.
Don't be down on yourself, Marcus. You're an excellent live streamer. That emotion.
Get off my screen. Shut up.
And it's meaningful.
Okay.
But I'm sure a lot of people out there are feeling the same.
I
way.
sound tired. Yeah,
We all
I
wanna live in the future
didn't.
where
I have
access to
not
space
slept.
is
Basically,
not
I mean, I got like I don't know,
insanely
maybe
costly
an
and
hour
only
at
in the
best.
realm of,
I spent
large governments and like a few countries on it. Like
I spent
no,
time
I
getting the
really
EJ and
wanna
Ernox
see
Excellent
the
Adventure
open
streaming setup
space, and there's so many things that we can
good. I
do
had to
with
make
that
a
opening of the
wire
space,
harness
and
for
the
that
very
thing.
first little bit of
Fortunately, we
that
got
you can
we had
see is
experience
our
with doing
Starlink,
that.
right?
I've
Bringing
wired
internet
an
to
entire
people
vehicle, fresh
around the
poots.
world that would
You know,
otherwise not
like
have
I
access
finished
to
my
the internet,
coffee someone like
is
halfway
amazing.
through
And
that
that's
NSF
just the
cast,
first
like
piece
halfway
of
through
what
when
we
I
can
was
do.
on
I
here.
mean,
I
am
actually wasn't
really, I don't
scheduled
know
to
about
go
you,
on
really big on
initially.
asteroid mining. I mean, as much as I
Scott
am
was
all
late
for
because he was at his
Starship
kid's
and all
birthday
for
party.
getting humans to Mars and having a
And
backup copy of our civilization,
and they were like, "We need
you know,
somebody." I'm
when
like,
it happens,
"I'll
as
do
no
it."
one,
All right, so that's why
as
like my
someone
mic
who
didn't
deals
work
with
right
a
at the
good
beginning because they
terabytes of
weren't
data
ready
from
for
cameras,
that. I was like, "Let
always
me
have
do
a
it."
backup, and that
So I
applies to
ended up. I
civilizations
was only
just like it
supposed to do
does
like an hour and a half. I
video
ended up
files.
doing 3 hours.
But
I mean, it could keep going.
as
I
much
don't
as
think.
I'm all
I don't
for
think the
that,
NSF people. I
something
don't think they
about
get
Blue
that your
Origin's
boy can like sit here for
mantra
like 10
of
hours straight and it's not a big deal. I
not
could run the
using
cast by
Earth for its
myself for 10
resources.
hours
Let's go
straight.
mine
It's
some
fine.
asteroids
But
and
they, you
make
know,
Earth
like I
sort of a
don't think
giant
they
nature
know that.
preserve and not
I don't think they've
carve up
ever.
this
I don't think they've
beautiful
ever seen
marble
that.
we have been
You know,
blessed
but
with.
it could be done.
Let's go into space, and you know that's something that Starship could absolutely facilitate.
If it's any
and I'm here
consolation,
for
you
it.
didn't seem tired on the NSF
Yeah,
stream in the
that's it. I mean,
slightest.
the
Yeah,
stuff that's
I
going
was.
on in the future just in
I mean,
parallel with all this.
you know,
the
Das knows that
advancements
though.
with
Yeah, he
robotics
does
and,
know that.
artificial
Okay, wait,
intelligence, all
back
this
up.
sort of
Rewind
stuff.
here. EJ and Ernox
I
Excellent
think
Adventure.
people get a bit skeptical of it because, like, oh,
So
who
on
wants to
Friday,
do that
I'm
as a
not going to
human?
be
Who wants to
streaming.
go out
Italics
there
dropped some of us
stuck
here.
on
Are
an
you a
asteroid
professional
mining
rocket
Mars? Like,
enjoyer?
yeah,
Dude,
we
I am the
probably
most
wouldn't be doing it
professional of
ourselves. Yeah, we'd be
professional
doing
rocket
research
enjoyers.
missions
Etel's a
these
good
things.
dude.
But
Yankee,
for the
yeah.
most
I
part,
like
these
watching
things
his
will be
streams. He's a
automated,
great streamer
automated,
and a good friend.
and you know, it seems
Yeah.
a
So what I do is, all right, I do variety streaming. I play a lot of the same games that Etel plays. In fact, Etel introduced me to Call of Arms, and he's trying to get me to play Star Citizen, and I'm like, I don't want to taste the Kool-Aid, man. I don't want to taste the Kool-Aid. Stop telling me to, you know. But what I really do is teach people about space flight and stuff. That's really where my bread and butter is. Kerbal was my main game, and I really didn't play anything else for the longest time. But now we variety stream, and that's the end of that sentence. Oh boy. So yeah, I've been moving over into doing a little bit more variety streaming and doing other things, but spaceflight is still the one thing that you know, I really enjoy the most by a long shot. I enjoy teaching people about how this stuff works. So much to the point that NSF, NASA Spaceflight, a very, very prominent spaceflight news organization, granted me the privilege of being on there and making a fool of myself on their shows constantly. You know, like, that's just a little bit tongue in cheek, but yeah, Hanky, for the most part, it's pay to win, right? So yes, Called Arms is really good. It's really, really good. So yeah, that's what I do here, and I appreciate Etel dropping you off. It's good stuff. Man, I kind of wanted to talk with Marcus as well. I like Marcus. Marcus is a good dude. That's Marcus House over there. He's a STEM YouTuber. He's like he's like a YouTube counterpart of mine. And then of course, dude, how did you guys feel about that Scott conversation? Chris was like, he can only commentate for so long, right? Like he doesn't have the dude. He was like, so like probably like maybe 45 minutes in, you know, Scott showed up, right? And he popped in, and Chris is like, EJ, you gotta keep him talking. You gotta keep him talking. Dude, my voice, you know, like I can't talk for this long. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, no problem, I got you. So I was like, oh, it's on now. So I was just like constantly picking Scott's brain. I was like, Scott, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? You know? So it was just, I was like, I'm not gonna not ask questions, right? Like, that was awesome. I love hanging around with Scott and talking about space. That's fun fact. Like if I'm ever hanging with him like off stream, that's basically what we do. We just talk about space stuff all the time. Oh shoot. I'm learning a lot from you. I really like your streams. Well, thanks, Pigeon. Yeah, he did, T-Man. He was like, EJ, and then like he was like, you know, EJ, I'm good. Like I'm good to talk more if you need it, but I'm honestly not going to if you can keep this going. I'm like, dude, just settle down. We're only an hour in. I got this, you know? And then later he was like, I don't even need to say nothing. I'm just happy, you know, like I'm just listening to this. This is fantastic. Keeping someone talking is a skill. Yeah, I'm pretty good at it, Hanky. I'm the best at yapping. Yeah, you could say that. Discount, I always enjoyed your Kerbal content. I love the dedification. Yep, starting to read things wrong. Yeah, been awake for a long time. The team down here were laughing at all the questions you were throwing at Scott, by the way. That's cool, team, man. Right on. Always enjoyed the Kerbal content, but love the dedication. I did it again, Discount. Jeez. Love the dedication to space coverage. Keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. I do appreciate it. You staying up all night or taking a quick nap? I might have to, Cherokee. I might not have a choice here, dudes. I might just put these old boys on and call it a day, like call it for a little while. I mean, to be honest, it's 3:15 in the morning. Ferd. Nice truck. It's 3:15 in the morning. This is gonna come up on us pretty quickly. Any laughs about the catch tower? Scott thought they'd do a catch tower as well. Scott, dude, I was like, Jack, you're outnumbered. You're outnumbered, son. Oh boy. Go take a 4.5 hour nap. Guys, I might need to do it. Make sure you set an alarm. You know you're not going to sleep. The alternative would be to just drive down to the store real quick and grab provisions. On a serious note, because I'll get to that in a second, because guys, I want to go all the way into Starliner docking, which is in 9 hours from now. Oh, you run out of your stash? I didn't make a stash, Aqualex. I didn't have time to get provisions. I was making a wire harness for the EJ and Ernox Excellent Adventure setup. There's a lot of things that need 12 volts at varying amperage. So we had to start making stuff. Yeah. Cutting and hacking connectors and stuff, like 12 volt prong connectors, and testing continuity and making sure you're using the right gauge of the cable for the power needs of for each piece of equipment, like the live view, the duet, the one of that stupid freaking camera that's working out of 3 that I have. 2 of them are DOA. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're quite familiar. Yep. I took all my wire tools and spools of red and black wire, because we're dealing with power, positive and negative DC, right? And yeah, I made a power harness. I made a wire harness so I don't have to have like 30 plugs for every single thing. And I made a harness for everything that's on 12 volt. And then I think I'm going to go anything that's on 5 volt. Like the microphones are on 5 volt. We have an Ethernet switch in this setup that's on 5 volt. I actually think that the 2 of the cameras are 2 of the cameras are on 5 volt. Yeah, the Fayutech is on 5 volt, and then my camcorder. I'm using one of my auto streaming cameras for this. So we have the gimbal camera, we have the auto streaming camera, and then another camera that I'll let you know about. I do have more cameras than that, but yeah, the gimbal camera might be a no-go because I only have 1 working, and we had 3 of them, and 2 of them are freaking DOA, which is just, I don't think we can get one fixed in time, which kind of sucks. You're a camera. No, you fool. Yeah, Sega, it's all right. So, yeah, we will have multiple camera views for EJ and Ernox Excellent Adventure, but yeah, it's not as many gimbal cameras as I would have hoped for, but hey, it is what it is. Did DOS help you with this trip? Yeah, a little bit. Refund in progress. I already made the first one. They sent a second one a la carte, and that one's dead too. Now I just want my money back. I'm just like, all right, just have these. Just give me my money back. These suck. Apparently, if you those things have a shelf life. If the Fadetech batteries go below a certain threshold, they just die. Yeah. They'll if the battery drains completely, it's like it just breaks. So that's good. Okay, I'm assuming road trip. It's a cross country road trip like Route 154, Flykin. It starts on Saturday. I was actually thinking a good shakedown cruise would be on Saturday, early Saturday morning, going up to Vandenberg. That'd be pretty cool. Time for a custom battery. Madara, if I had another week, I would just take apart one of the Fadetechs and see if we can give it some type of external battery to get the thing to work correctly. Cali meetup? I don't know, maybe. Considering I'm driving right by you, that might happen. Who knows? Maybe, I mean, 95, maybe you have to drive up to the Santa Monica Pier. Who knows? Interested in anyone joining? That's not fully my decision, someone, but we should have the space to do it. But yeah, we'll see. There's a Falcon 9 launch at 3 a.m. Pacific out of Slick 4. Are you going to pull an all-nighter? Ryan, I'm debating it, but I probably should take some kind of nap. Bear in mind that we're going to be short on time. 1 hour drive, not too bad. Yep. Direct through bypassing the charge circuit. Yeah, Aqualex, once again, there's no doubt that I'm capable of doing something like that. I'm pretty damn confident in my abilities, but also at the same time, I don't have time. Starliner being yesterday, screwing up my schedule, and then the Starship being the next day right after that, just, I don't know, I'm out of time. Out of time. If you visit Lompoc, you know I wouldn't mind the visit again. Of course, that we're gonna try for it, Night Viper. Yeah. To be clear, I meant more meetup at Vandy or something. I would drive on my own. Don't want to force my way into y'all's trip. Well, it's a shakedown, someone. So it actually wouldn't be bad if like we met up at the pier, and then we had a support vehicle cruising up PCH because that's the shakedown cruise, right? Like, it wouldn't be, dude. Wouldn't be the worst idea, as long as you guys are okay driving in the middle of the night, I wouldn't be against it. Taking the Route 154 truck. No. No, even though I probably could, Flykin. We have a bigger version of it. Ernok bought, this time around, he bought a 1987 Ford F-350 quad cab long box. So, yeah. And we're also towing his Camaro back to my house to work on it. It is a dually, yes. Yep. Leaving for work, I'll be lurking. All right. Yeah, Harp, it's this truck's a monster. Yep, crew cab long box. This thing's a freaking limo. It's cool. It's a cool truck. You flying to Cali? I'm flying out there on Friday, Maverick. Yep. Running Bear, if you can make it to Lompoc, I can show you around my hometown. On Saturday, we'll probably go. We'll probably go to Lompoc regardless. I'm not gonna pass up an I don't get out to the West Coast that much. We have an automobile, and Pacific Coast Highway exists. So if I'm going to Southern California, I'm driving on PCH one way or another. So it's most likely going to happen. Yeah. We'll probably do the shakedown because that's what we did during Route 154. If you guys remember, Primo and I wanted to make sure the truck worked, and now all the systems on the truck were working just fine. So before we checked out of our hotel, we extended it another day and drove up to Lompoc, and then did a meet up there, turned around and drove home. I sent you the images that you can share on stream. Did you though? Oh yeah, there's Knox Camara. That's the car that we're going to be towing right there. Is Camara. And this is what we're towing it with. Oh, yeah, baby. No, they haven't gotten scrubbed. They haven't scrubbed her and dog. Don't say it. It's bad juju. Rare stats 325. I have insomnia. What's your excuse? Starship launches in 5 hours. Should probably go get some sleep. I actually prefer the long box over the short box. It looks more correct. It's not a bad looking truck. So yeah, guys, we're gonna kind of play it by ear. Like, I don't mean to be like a tease, but we'll definitely do some type of meetup. And yeah, someone, if you want to convoy up with us to the launch, you know, provided I can get the setup implemented in time. What I'm gonna basically have to do is land in California, and then we got to get to Ernok's house. That's gonna take a second, right? And then he's not near LAX. Let me put it to you like that. Or no, not LAX. Sorry, I misspoke. He's not near the airport in San Diego. I wish I was flying into, well, never mind. I was about to say I wish I was flying into LAX. It's a little bit cheaper than San Diego, but you know what? No, I don't. I don't. To be honest with you. Oh, there you go, Cherokee. Yeah. So, yeah, 95. Yeah, exactly. Right. So we got to go back to Ernok's house. I got to unpack everything, and we got to set everything up. And then, you know, if all of that goes right, then maybe we'll try to make the rocket launch. I might sleep in the car. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be very tired by the end of that day. Hopefully you're not playing Spirit of Frontier. No, I don't do that. I have points with another airline that's not either of those. Yeah, Bill, exactly, right? So, yeah, if we don't get there in time to get out there for the launch, I'll probably get a good night's sleep and just do it in the morning. You know, we will drive up there, so yeah, that is the shakedown cruise. Remember your T-search, eat, sleep, launch, repeat. We are currently at the sleep stage. Yep. All right, guys. So here's what I'll do. I don't know how I really feel about this.
They want to try something slightly
keying in
different.
the audio back
That
over
in some
there
way
for
or another,
NSF.
but yeah, that's an
I never work well tired. Yeah.
I have another. Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry, because we were talking about the anniversary of Falcon 9 this week.
I was gonna
I have
say
another
what we
one.
could do is just I could leave this on.
9 was fully stacked and completed this day, but 1 year ago.
Mr. House
So
is in the
it's
house,
been
mate.
1 year since that vehicle was finished, and now it's on the pad ready
Sister
for
said you
launch.
wouldn't mind going
I think
down
that's
there
actually
and
the
meet you
shortest
halfway.
time
We'll
between
see.
a vehicle
We'll see, dude.
being
We'll see.
completed and then full,
Probably
flying
not a
on
good
full.
idea. We have no way to turn it off. Yeah. I don't like a ballistic stream. You know what I mean? So, how long until the launch? Chuck, we're looking at about 5 hours. Yeah, I'm gonna shut it just because if like this stream buffers or something, there's not gonna be anything that anybody can do. I don't want that. So what we'll do is we'll shut it down here for the time being. I am going to go get some sleep. And I don't know. So Starship is scheduled to launch at 8:20 a.m. Eastern time. What do you think? 6:30 start time? So about 2 hours. So yeah. Where is NSF? Is it on YouTube? I'll link up the NSF stream that I was just doing there, and yeah, we'll go from there. You need some Hemi motors. Actually, 16, if we're going to put a Hemi in anything, we need to put a Hemi in my 69 Cornet. Wouldn't you agree? It's just got a 318 in it. It needs to have a Hemi. Its natural home is in the Cornet. Yeah, anyway, I could sit here and talk about cars all the time. So I'll set our start time for pretty much the same time as yesterday. We'll start in at 6:30. 6:30, 6:45. So you might be a Cummins guy. There's nothing wrong with a 6BT Cummins, man. In fact, that's probably one of the best diesel engines ever devised, with right up there with the 8V71. You know, if you know, you know. I have a Hemi, but I love the sound of the turbo. That's fair. That's totally fair. It's totally fair. I think we can be friends now. That's pretty cool. Put a Coyote in the Coronet. Oh, just piss everybody off. Just piss everybody off doing that. All right. Also, just in case I forget, it is the 80th anniversary of Operation Overlord. So I always make it a thing to make sure to remember these important days in history. The 80th anniversary of D-Day. So, you know, just, I think it's poignant to remember these type of events, and make sure you pay respects where respects are due. Press F to pay respects. That's what I'm trying to say. Hemi twin turbo sounds nice. Yep. So, yeah. It's crazy. 80 years. Unbelievable. All right, guys. I'll be back. Give me about 3 hours. I'll try to go get some shut eye. I'll set the alarm right now so I don't forget. I'm going to set my alarm. So I'm going to take a quick nap. They'll set 3 alarms. Tim, you know what? That's probably a good idea. 5:45, 6:30. Done. Yeah. And I'll see you guys in about 3 hours. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoy the NSF bit. Set 95 alarms? No, I'm going to set 94 alarms. Yeah, that's right. Damn. SpaceX going to be live then? Might as well get an extra hour. Mutter, I'm hold on real quick. You said it yourself, man. I ain't getting much sleep today. That's not going to happen. I might end up taking a break between Starship and Starliner docking, just depending on what's going on. We'll see. Actually, you know what? That probably isn't a bad idea. If I take a break between those two, right? Then it's possible that, well, you could get more of a stream today, but I don't know. I'm going to play this one by ear, guys, depending on when my body decides that I need to sleep for me, you know. We'll go from there. I'll see you guys in 3 hours. Thank you.